Okay, well, I think we should be live again. That is
Hey,
that's good to know that this is not just an us thing.
no,
Uh,
did you all catch that? It is because it's important to know. Like, uh, I understand it's frustrating on the audience side, and it's super frustrating on our side. Um, but a lot of people are having problems. Like, it's not just a Matt and Jason being shit situation. Which um, there's always that. There's
I'm
always that
I'm
element
happy
to
for
it.
anything that takes the responsibility for it off of my shoulders. So I am very happy to believe this. Oh
Yeah.
man. All right. Well, yeah, it looks like we are back. So I was
Yay!
cranked out another stream here, or yeah, another set up another stream and pushed it out real quick. We are reconnected, and of course now the chat's not coming through my little sidebar.
I just give it a minute. It'll rev it. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we will. I feel like we should give it a second before we really dive into it, in case things go haywire
Give
again.
it a second. Give it a minute.
Yeah.
Hey, so you went for steak. That was fun. You got hit in the
Yes.
nuts
Got.
by
Yep.
your son. That
Yep.
you know out of an act of love. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
What else is going on?
It's very hot. It looks like we're probably going to have some big thunderstorms that may roll through tonight. We'll find out if that actually happens or not. They always threaten to, and then they never actually do. Wit says he got here just in time. Yeah, you did. That's right. You didn't miss a single thing. Not a single thing happened before you got here, Wit.
No, just that was the other one was just a test run. The other one was just a tease. It was just like a little bit of like a just licking the tip. Yeah, there we go. And then now this
What
is the full main event. Now we're going full like I don't know what I'm on 2 hours of sleep, folks, and like about 6 Red Bulls, and now I'm cruising on Pepsi Max. Things might get wild on my end. My painkillers are kicking in. I'm like I'm just chemistry at this point.
you're an old man whose painkillers just kicked in. You're ready to rock and roll.
Woo! I'm having a hard time keeping these alligators down.
Zach said Jason is not so erudite GIF moment. Oh, them's fighting words, buddy.
No. Did you see that one where I haven't got to that part of the J not so erudite debate? But at one point she spazzes out and she's like, I'm like
Yeah,
what are
right.
you doing?
And Jay's reaction is like,
What the fuck?
what's happening here?
I debate. Can you imagine Jay's like, I debate like actual real people. What the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you? Did you see that clip I played when he like tore into her on the panel show?
I didn't see you play it, but I watched it when it happened.
Yeah. And I loved his thing. He's like, you're just I forget what he was saying. He's like, you just suck at this.
Yeah. Oh, you're just actually really bad. Breastiny.
Oh, he's like, yeah, he's like, you're a Destiny clone, and Destiny's like the worst. The Destiny's like the worst debater, and you're like the worst of the worst. You're a clone of the worst of the worst. Like, it's amazing how far you fall.
I was watching a
look.
stream today of Jim Bob, dude, and he did like an hour and a half of just roasting one of her streams. And at one
Garbage
point he goes
sausage is
into
like-
garbage sausage. Oh man! At one point he goes into doing his Jordan Peterson voice while he's critiquing her, and he's like in his Jordan Peterson voice. I'm not even gonna attempt it because I can't do it. But in his Jordan Peterson voice, he's like, "The problem with this bitch here." I was laughing, man. It's incredible.
No one's gonna take you seriously. Look at you. You're fucking garbage sausage. Get it together. Jesus.
All
What's
raggedy.
wrong with you? Get yourself together. Why you always look wet? Why is it always wet with you? Is it a style? Are you just coming from the shower? Or
12 rules for wives.
Symbolic? Get Jonathan Pajot here to explain to me the meaning of this wetness. I don't understand.
You knew?
The
fact that he could sit down and he could do an entire full length, like,
I'm gonna come
serious analysis of something and do it entirely in his Jordan Peterson voice is just phenomenal.
Honestly, I haven't. I don't know if I pitched this to Jim, but I feel like he should just start doing Jordan Peterson videos, like pre-psyop Jordan Peterson. When he was vaguely consistent and like cohesive, and just like start delivering blistering hot takes, like
Yeah.
real deal hot takes in that voice, and just confuse everyone. Like, this Jordan Peterson sounds great. Like, we should listen to this guy more. Like,
And just do it just
bucko.
perfectly serious. Like, don't even acknowledge it. Just do it as if it's his
Right.
own voice. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
$10 from Hunger the Die Merchant. Thank you, my friend. He says, how's your guys' content so good and your streaming abilities so bad? There must be a correlation. Maybe more cigarettes and super chat money could fix this. Wink, wink. I like
Yeah.
the way this man thinks. What he
Yes.
said.
You know what? Send us money so the streams can improve. It's obviously just it's a financial issue.
Yeah. Everyone sent a bunch of
It's
money and I bought a new computer and the streaming issues have continued. You guys just didn't send enough. I guess that's the problem.
yeah. Well, see, right? Matthew needs an upgrade for his upgrades. Come on.
That's right. Yeah.
It's just like, this is just how it goes.
New week, new computer.
Send Jason money.
Yeah, that's right. I don't remember if, now that I started a new stream, I don't know if this currently has your link in it. Does it put Jason on your payroll now? There's a PayPal link there.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the chat as well. Hey, last stream had 2 people send me very generous donations. I don't have the names in front of me, but I appreciate you. One happened while we were streaming, one happened after. So I appreciate you folks. Got a personal goal to hit 1,000 by the end of the month. We're already about halfway there. So if you if you're in the United States, here's the good news for you. It really, there's like, all donations are great, because when I do the Australian dollar translation, even $5 American is actually pretty decent here. So, like, if you got $5, $10, whatever you can spare, I appreciate you, or more. I don't feel like you don't feel like you can send more if you really feel like sending more. But I appreciate each and every one of you, and it is helping pay bills and so that. So every little bit counts and helps, and thank you. And just again, the StreamYard problems, like, at least now it's confirmed that it's just not all my fault, right?
That's right. It's my fault too.
And Jim Bob and many other people, it's like, haha, validation. Fuck. doesn't get back those years I shed the last 3 months of going, what is going on? Why is it on fire? What is going? Is the internet on fire? Can I put it out? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Oh, bucko. Anyway,
just so you know, Phil said next thing we need to do is get fiber. I just did. We have fiber here. I just did speedtest.net. I've got 615 down and 620 up with 15 ping. So
you're frozen on my end. So hopefully.
Oh God, you better be bullshitting me.
No.
Oh, come on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, if you can hear me, at least that works.
Yeah, we'll just roll with that.
Okay. Let's try switching scenes and see if things improve at all.
Uh-oh. Here we go. We'll see you on the next stream, folks. Keep your browser open. We might have to reboot this whole thing.
All right. Lurch says we're both good on that end. So, okay, this must just be a thing for you.
Lurch.
Maybe it's doing streams late at night here. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe this is signaling that we need to have Jason get up at midnight and do a stream in the middle of the night.
I just shifted my time. I just shifted my time slot. You guys can't keep chasing after my time slots. I established one time slot, then everyone fucking moves that time slot. Then I got to move my time slot out of, because I'm Canadian and I'm nice like that. And then I move my time slot, and then everyone goes, "Oh, geez, that looks like a great time slot." It's like I started going later, and everyone goes, "We should do later streams." Like, fuck. Now I got like 5 people streaming at 11 o'clock at night. Like, what the Eastern Standard Time? Like, what the fuck's wrong with you people? Leave me the fuck alone.
I need to add Jim Bob to the soundboard. I need to add Jim Bob doing Jordan Peterson going, "Fuck, fuck." What's up, Fart, in the X chat? Fart is in the house. Everybody say hello, Fart. Checking in from
Fart.
X. All right.
Zach
Well,
says Australia's not real. Man, I wish that was true. I wish I was like in like Jersey. Like, it's like shame on me. Like,
you
it's like no,
you would rather live with
it's
Snooki
very real.
than live in Australia.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as you guys can see, there is a little tip goal on the bottom there. It's paying Matt's streamer salary. We did the shilling for Jason. Now we'll shill for Matt. Tips.kingpill.com. That ensures that YouTube doesn't take a hefty chunk of the cash that you guys send over to support. Appreciate every little bit
It's
that you
brutal.
guys do. And yeah, I mean, YouTube, it's a minimum of 30%, but I've heard there's certain things now that they're taking up to 50% for some reason or another. Are they trying to destroy their own product? What is it?
I don't know, man. Like I just got the payout like what yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, and I'm also paying American taxes on top of it.
Oh
So it's
God.
like after the YouTube cut, which does seem like it's gone up, and then the American taxes. It's just like, you work really hard to get to hit these levels and do all this stuff, and you're like, wait a minute, why am I getting like half? Half of the money that you're actually just telling me I made, but you have to go through and like do the math,
Right.
right? And go, wait,
Right.
I'm getting fleeced and fucked here. Like, what is going on? So yeah, send it to Streamlabs, folks. Send it right to PayPal or whatever, if you can. I know it's whatever, it's easy things. You don't want to stop the stream, all that kind of stuff. The stream may not be here when you get back. Who knows, right? But but if you are going to send money, and we do appreciate it, send it right to Streamlabs or whatever. It's getting brutal in terms of cuts. So
I just pulled Jason's audio up. Let me know if it's better now. He was crashing out in the red here a little bit ago, but it does seem like it's a little bit lower. So let me know how that is. Jason, can you control do you have the video up? Do we want to test this real quick just to make sure that you can play pause on your end? Perfect. That works. That works for me. All right. So I haven't watched this. Have you watched this debate yet? Curtis Yarvin at Harvard debating a scholar.
no, I have not watched any of this yet. I was going to actually play it on the stream last night. Then we talked. We're going to do it today, so we'll do it today. It's a nice little follow up from last week. So I haven't watched any of this. I'm going to make some bold predictions, however, because he's dating like POC Grimace here, and so my prediction is she's going to be making a lot of statements. No arguments will be made from her. No actual positions being made. Just a lot of statements, a lot of things like that sound good. And that 10, 15 years ago, when, the woke and all this stuff was really hitting the mainstream, actually worked because people had, this is something I was thinking about right early this morning, is that what's worn out is their welcome. They've completely worn out their welcome, and not just black folks, but the entire intersectional progressive wing. Because 10, 15 years ago, I think a lot of people, when they were encountering this, were giving them fair play and giving them sort of like the benefit of doubts and actually treating them as like, in good faith and trying to listen to them and rationalize out their arguments and all that kind of stuff. That's done now. It's completely done. And so their arguments haven't changed and their personalities haven't changed. What's changed, I think, is that our tolerance for any of it is gone. So when you start listening to it now, it's like it's just statements. It's just like I'm going to state this thing, and I'm going to say it like as if, well, you're an asshole if you disagree. I'm like, fine, I'm an asshole and I disagree. I don't give a shit.
Right. Yeah. Once upon a time, there was
call me racist. Oh no! I'll never recover.
When we lived in a society, when we thought we lived in a society, then you didn't want to be considered someone who was like rude or uncouth or someone not accepted in the mainstream. But the more that the so-called mainstream just becomes the territory of lolcows, the less cost there is to not being associated with the mainstream or seeing as ordinary and decent and acceptable. And so like they wind up destroying their own
I'm a white guy. I'm
social
ready to
pressure
kill.
mechanism. I am a white guy and I'm ready to kill. Oh no, the alert box is beneath everything. That won't do. We got to make sure you guys can see. You could see Alex Jones chimping out here. um, yeah, but the more that they beclown themselves publicly as the representatives of everything that is decent and normal and mainstream, the less people care about being accepted as mainstream or decent. And so then you're like, oh, you're racist is kind of like a way of saying you're not socially acceptable. And it's like, well, I've seen what you think is socially acceptable. So if you think I'm not, then that's actually kind of a compliment.
Well, there was a good post. There's a good post I just saw recently about this on X, talking about like anti-science. And for a while there, the liberals were the party of science. So when they said to someone you're anti-science, it was basically used against the right wing as a sort of a religious dialectic, right? Now they're starting to have to use it on on actual leftists who are disagreeing with, let's say, certain narratives, like men can be women, and women can be men, and whatever, right? Finding now that that's starting to get pushed back on, they're starting to have to use the anti-science attack on their own side, and it's just showing it up even more. That anti-science just means you disagree. That's it. It's you're off the reservation. You're not in agreement with the Church of Science. You're excommunicating yourself, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you kind of see it that way, then it's like everything else makes sense. Like, okay, you're racist, you're anti-Semite, you're this, you're that, you're whatever. Like, you're just noticing and applying standard morals. The reaction to Theo Vaughn having a just a genuine moment of going, hey, we shouldn't be supporting this, right? Like, maybe this is now evil, and maybe we should stop supporting this. And then just out of the blue, you have an attack in DC, and isn't that just a coincidence, right? Like, come on, like, this is getting to the point where it's. I don't want to say the things because it's the platform we're on, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows what I'm saying,
mm-hmm.
and it's enough now. Like, can we all agree that it's enough, and we need to move on from these people? The Merchants of Despair have had a good run; they need to be shuffled away completely. Like, off the planet, kind of thing, because it's now becoming it's past bad taste and is now becoming insulting. Viva Fry going after Theo Vaughn, saying, like, trying to redefine genocide. Like, what is wrong?
Seriously?
With you? Yeah. It's like all this standard, and you just look at it going, fuck off, man. All right, how about this? How about we have a standard definition? Here's your word concept fallacy, okay? How about we have a standard definition that denying food and medical aid to civilians caught in a war zone is evil? How about that? Just across the board. I don't care who does it, right? I don't care if they're white, black, or who's ever doing that. They're evil. They're wrong. So carry on. Like, take the L and do something about it, asshole. Or shut up. How about that? How about you just shut the fuck up? That's an option for you.
Imagine being like, excuse me, Theo Vaughn, you did not delineate your position on this properly. You have an improper position on this, Mr. Theo Vaughn. You haven't adequately. It's fucking Theo Vaughn, bro. It's the most like chilled out, chudded out comedian ever. People do not tune into Theo Vaughn because they're expecting to hear a properly philosophically delineated exposition on genocide. So, like, criticizing Theo Vaughn for having the wrong genocide take or whatever is the gayest thing I can think of. Imagine liking the smell of your own farts that much that you would make a serious critique of fucking Theo Vaughn.
Well, and the only reason you do that is because Theo Vaughn actually has a bigger reach than Viva, right? Or
right,
a lot
he's
of these
punching
people.
up.
Yeah, and well, it's always a punch up for these fuckers, right? It's the eternal victim bullshit. And it's like, no, sorry, no, sorry, you're not getting away with this one. Like, it's enough. We don't need to go through the war porn to know that's enough. Like, if you haven't accomplished your goals by now, maybe your goals are not accomplishable,
Mm.
and you should choose another tact. Because now what's the new rhetoric? They're gonna bomb Iran. Like, what serious human being on the face of the planet can look at that and go, yeah, that's fine. That's who we should support. Like, it pains me to say this, but Hassan Piker had some good points. Like, you know, like, and again, not the defending terrorism stuff. I know. Did you see that? Like, he got named by the ADL.
No.
And
The ADL's going
'cause-
after Hassan.
yeah, apparently. I just caught an Asmongold clip. And Asmon's been like, Asmon's been fucking dropping elbows from the top rope on Hassan for months now. But again, I don't like the Hassan. I hope he rots in a cell someday. I don't know, whatever, right? Like, fine. And I certainly don't like Hamas or any terrorist thing. YouTube, just whatever, calm down. But I mean, at the same time, right? We can fill in the blanks. Like, come on. This is stupid.
Hassan Piker, I'm coming to kill you.
Piker!
No, at his house.
In real life.
Oh, the master. He always does it. $10 tip from Slosher. Thank you, my friend. He says, the fact that things have gotten worse as things have become more diverse is not a great look for them. Them being the position represented by our lovely scholar. And I lied. I have listened to the first, 90 seconds or so of this. And you will be shocked to learn that there is a reference to lynchings within about 30 seconds.
Obviously from Yarvin, right?
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, he launched right into it with the lynching talk. All right, do me a favor, hit the like button. We got 85 watching right now and only 25 likes, so let's get them likes up, and we shall now entertain you with watching. You guys can watch us watch this, a debate: Curtis Yarvin versus Professor Danielle Allen. Democracy debate at Harvard. And I guess one last thing before we launch into it. Imagine take the you of, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe, and say that on what is this, May 22nd, 2025, we would be sitting here watching Curtis Yarvin at Harvard debating democracy with a black Harvard professor.
We kind of mentioned this last week, but I guess we should maybe bring it back up. Is that when this was announced, Yarvin caught a lot of heat from the DR and all the rest of it, going, "Oh, you've betrayed people. You're at Harvard now and stuff." And as we pointed out last week, it's like, no, that's the whole thing. He's at Harvard. That means Harvard's lost.
Yes.
Like, you don't invite your most openly subversive critic who's called for tanks in Harvard Yard over to Harvard for a debate if you're not desperate, like literally freaking desperate to remain relevant. And that's what Harvard deals in. It's not education, it's not degrees or any of that. It's relevancy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. All right, so this video here is this is from Passage Press, reposted this, so we're giving them a click instead of giving Harvard a click, and off we go.
Ozempic, brought to you by Curtis Yarvin, brought to you by Ozempic.
The Pete to Harvard pipeline.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Welcome to the Harvard Faculty Club. Would just like to issue very briefly, I'd like to thank our speakers, Professor Danielle Allen, Curtis Yarvin. I'd like to thank the folks from the Harvard Faculty Club that enabled this to happen.
Somehow Yarvin is not the most awkwardly dressed person on the panel. What the hell is this? What are these like?
Yeah, the guy can't wear a suit, and that voice. Oh yeah, the fucking kicks. Like,
yeah,
what? She's urban, right? That's the whole thing. Like, this is her. She's got her Nike Airs because she's from the streets, yo.
Oh yeah.
And who's this twerpy twink in the middle? Like,
I'd like to thank the Academy for hosting this event.
All I've basically got to say is remain respectful. Disruptive behavior, by and large, won't be tolerated.
It won't be tolerated.
I banged Susie Cream Cheese in the back by the Harvard facility and Min building. It was great. I can still smell her. It smells like strawberries. I fucking tell you.
Anyhow, for a brief introduction, Professor Allen is a Harvard University
Lex
professor,
Friedman
director
can
of the
sound
Allen
human.
Lab for Democracy Renovation, a political.
What?
Who was it that said this? Magoo says, "Wow, Lex Friedman can sound human."
A political philosopher, ethicist, and public policy expert. She's also a nonprofit leader, democracy advocate, tech ethicist, and author. Her work can be found in the Atlantic, as well as the Washington Post, among other places. She led Harvard's Edmund and Lilly Center for Ethics previously, developed the roadmap to pandemic resilience during COVID, and ran for Massachusetts governor back in 2022. Her scholarship focuses on the reinvigoration of democracy, civic engagement, and institutional reform. Her most recent book, Justice by Means of Democracy, underpins this with The Radical Duke, forthcoming in 2026, if I have that right.
Ooh.
Other works include Our Declaration and Democracy in the Time of Coronavirus. Curtis Guy Yarvin is an...
Wait. Guy? What guy? Curtis Guy Yarvin, I believe he's
Curtis Gay Yarvin.
Gay, Guy on Guillaume. Democracy in the time of COVID. Democracy was suspended during COVID. What are you talking about? How did you vote? How did anyone vote their way out of that one? Pray tell.
I don't recall casting a COVID vote.
Yeah. Like, oh, wait. What's on the docket? Tax reform. That sounds good. Immigration reform. Okay, yeah, good. Oh, being locked inside the house, not being able to leave for 2 solid years. Oh, good. Oh, who's representing that?
Vorpal Anvil says her job is guaranteeing herself a job. That's exactly it. She's like a nonprofit leader and a democracy advocate, and literally her entire job is getting grant funding for giving herself money to keep getting grant funding.
Yeah, she basically farts out a paper every few years to justify her what, like 6-figure salary, more than that probably.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like she's probably closing in on $1 million a year.
Well, between her like Harvard salary and then like whatever NGO position she has,
speaking tours and blah 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 blah.
Her books,
for sure.
Her books that the Harvard Foundation buys all the copies of because nobody ever wants them.
Yeah, no one ever sells them. They're only sold at the Harvard bookstore and airports.
Political theorist and software developer known by his pen name Mencius Moldbug. He attended Brown University and was influenced by Silicon Valley's.
Look at Curtis's smirk. It's almost like he's a cat surveying his prey.
That's exactly. I was thinking he looks very predatory here.
Yeah,
but it's like it is a feline predation.
His opponent is not this woman sitting on the stage with a stupid orange Home Depot jacket. No, it's the crowd.
He's libertarian tech.
He's about to mind fuck you.
The back of her head is very oddly flat. Like she was just laid on her back when she was a child and just left there for long periods of time.
Yeah. It's, she had a father. Her father was in the house, but she still felt abandoned. Strangely enough, it's weird.
In the 1990s, and thinkers like Ludwig von Mises, Murray Rothbard, Thomas Carlyle, and Hans Hermann Hoppe. Yarvin developed a critical stance against democratic systems, particularly after reading Hoppe's Democracy, the God That Failed, back in 2001. Yarvin is a founder of the so-called neo-reactionary movement, or the Dark Enlightenment, alongside Warwick philosopher Nick Land. He wrote the blog Unqualified Reservations, advocating for replacing American democracy with an accountable monarchy or corporate-style governance. critiquing liberalism as a pervasive system he terms the cathedral. In 2002, Yarvin found the Urbit networked computing platform.
Urbit.
Curtis Yarvin published selections from his
can't help
blog,
myself.
Unqualified Reservations, with Passage Press in 2023, and published his first original book,
Passage
Fascicle
Press.
1, Disturbance with Passage. So I'd like to welcome both of our speakers for a spirited debate. And I figure we ought to get into the first topic. Very briefly, in terms of the format, there will be 2 resolutions, each which should last for about 30 minutes, with both speakers going back and forth. After those 2 topics are discussed sufficiently, closing remarks will proceed. So the first matter, resolved. The long-term stability and flourishing of our society is better secured by concentrated executive authority than by democratic institutions. Perhaps for a first statement, Professor Allen.
Okay, so he just delivered the resolution. So the resolution is that what was it? That something about a prosperous society or whatever is better secured.
Vagueness. Yeah, vagueness.
It's basically you're going to have executive power concentrated in like a single executive versus you're going to have democratic institutions, whatever those are. So that's a resolution. Notice what she starts off talking about.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, David. Glad to be here, and thanks to all of you for turning out. You've got dark enlightenment and bright enlightenment.
Come on.
So, I'm looking forward to the conversation, and I'd like to share a little bit about where I come from in answering this question.
What the fuck does where you come from have to do with answering this question?
She's from the streets, yo.
This is
from the streets.
This is solipsism. This is narcissism. In order to understand my position on this question, you must know where I come from. So this is like, I think it's probably a woman thing. I think this is
about
her,
you.
This is her as a woman as much as it is her as a the N-word. This is like, in order, like we can't just evaluate the ideas or the suppositions in a vacuum. No, we have to take into consideration the source. You have to evaluate my lived experience that I bring to bear, as if my lived experience somehow makes my position valid or invalid on its own right.
Well, it's a weird thing, right? Because liberalism gets rid of the hierarchy, right? Feminist liberalism gets rid of the hierarchy. So now everything's reduced down to mush and sludge. Well, when you do that, now your calls to authority, you only have 2, right? Which is like empirical data, which now we know through USAID and all the rest of it, almost all these studies are worthless because they're all being funded by think tanks that have reason, that are just farting out things because they got paid to fart something out as proof of concept, right? So you have that reality, and the only other authority they can call on is themselves. So that's why it's like experience and data, both are falsifiable, both are meaningless to anything. There's, again, no argument, no justification, just like statements. Here's a statement, and the statement's coded as good, and we've said it's good. Look, the AP style guide says it's good, so therefore good. GDP go up, therefore it's feminism good. What? Huh? Who? What do you mean? It doesn't matter. it's all of it. It's just one long verbal diarrhea statement, like machine gun. Like I'm going to quote Jay Dyer against Not So Erudite. It's machine gun fire diarrhea. Like, what are you saying? What do you mean? Like, what? It's self-referential. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, nothing. Great, cool. Please go ahead, make your statement, make your monologue. It must have sounded good in the fucking mirror.
She apparently is the daughter to the conservative political scientist William B. Allen. Her mother was a research librarian, and her parents married at a time when interracial marriage was illegal. Her grandfather was a Baptist preacher who helped found the first NAACP chapter in North Florida, and her great-grandmother was a suffragette. This is part of what she's about to get into.
You heard in the introduction that I am a combination of Harvard prof and democracy advocate. Folks often ask me, what exactly do you do, Danielle, with all of those different balls being juggled? And the answer is simply I work on democracy, past, present, and future, with no question mark at the end of that.
She's got educated black woman verbal fry.
Hold on, what did she say?
That's a focus.
She said past, present, and future with no question mark at the end of that.
Sure.
Okay.
Guess I come by super honestly. It's a matter of family inheritance, for starters. My
Super duper honestly. It's just oh look, I swear on a Bible if just give me the Satanic Bible and I'll swear on that all day.
Is that a technical
my
term?
dad
Super duper honesty.
Super duper. You can trust me. I just said it. Super.
dad, my granddad on my dad's side, helped found one of the first NAACP chapters in Northern Florida in the 40s. Northern Florida at that time was just pretty much the same as Southern Georgia. So super dangerous. Lynchings were on the rise. He took his life into his hands to secure the
Northern Florida at that time was the same as Southern Georgia. Do I have any geography experts out there? I wonder what Northern Florida and Southern Georgia have in common. Like being immediately adjacent to one another.
the right to vote. On my mom's side, my great-granddad marched with suffragettes on Boston Common in 1917. My great-grandmother ended up as president of the League of Women Voters in Michigan in the 30s. And this was because they believed that
If I ever find myself at a debate stage with one of these people, I'm going to make sure I bring a cookie with me. And so I just lean over and go, here's your cookie. Yeah. No, you earned it. No. Yeah. No, your whole family. I brought a box for them. It's Girl Guide cookies. They're great. They're, minty.
Today, Junior!
Get on with it!
empowerment is the bedrock for human thriving and well-being. So I was fortunate to acquire that commitment in view as a young person growing up in my family. No surprise in that context, I took that for granted. I took democracy's value.
So what? So you're privileged. You're a privileged Black person. Oh, that's good. That's nice. That's nice to know. Your family history underprivileged, horrible. Ooh, just a trail of tears. But you're privileged as fuck. Oh,
she was born to an academic and a librarian in Tacoma Park, Maryland. She is as bougie regime class as they come. And so far, we haven't learned anything about democracy.
But they still had grits every other Sunday just to keep it real,
For granted as a young person. And of course, as I came of age, watched my own generation come up in the world, the question of democracy's value got a lot more complicated. I watched a real parting of ways, parting of experience. I have had incredible opportunities, immense privilege here in the...
What the fuck is she talking about? Like democracy got more complicated as she was growing up. Since when, until like the last 15 minutes of human history, have people been openly debating democracy in any meaningful way? Really? Please edify me. I'm 47 years old, turning 48 this year. I'm probably not that much younger than this dink.
She's 53.
So 53. Okay, so we're basically in the same like bracket. Trust me, I didn't hear anyone openly criticizing or questioning democracy up until like about 5 years ago.
And what I want to find out throughout the course of this is what does democracy mean? Like democracy has gotten much more complicated. What does that even mean? What is democracy? I'm a democracy advocate. I've had all these experiences with democracy. What is democracy here? Is it I have a feeling it doesn't have to do strictly with elections, with voting. What is, when they speak of democracy, this hallowed, sacred democracy, what are they talking about? What is democracy?
Cathedral. And as well, having had siblings as well who have thrived and so forth. At the same time, though, I have cousins, kids I used to run around the streets playing football with who aren't here any longer for all the hardest things: substance use disorder,
is that democracy's
incarceration, gun violence. And I hit a point in 2009, I lost my youngest cousin, where I started banging my head against the wall and thinking, democracy is not supposed to be abstractly valuable.
Oh, so I guess, financing the Black community in America just doesn't really work. You can lead a pig, you can lead a horse to water, but apparently someone's going to get shot in the head. It's amazing.
It's going to overdose.
Yeah, you go to a block party one time, for a cultural event and see what happens.
Yes, we embrace these ideals of freedom and equality, but the entire point is that when we do, it delivers a society that makes it possible for every generation to do a bit better than the previous, and also for a whole cohort to come up together. And so I started working on this question of how to change the dynamic of our democracy so that it could actually deliver on the promise of democracy. And
So this is a someone said in here she has 2 doctorates. She's got one from Harvard, one from Cambridge. She reads ancient Greek. This is an extremely educated woman who is participating in a debate hosted by Harvard. And the resolution was just presented, and her job here is to argue her position with respect to this resolution. And she's talking about all of her experience with democracy. This has nothing to do with the resolution. It doesn't matter whether you've had good experiences or bad experiences. She's just like giving a commencement speech at a graduation or something. How are you this educated person who's lived in this world your entire life? And me, ordinary chud on the internet, I know how a debate works better than you do.
That work took me in the first instance into criminal justice reform, trying really hard to change criminal justice reform policy. And it doesn't take very long if you try to actually fix something to discover that even if you've got common sense, cross-partisan solutions, it's really hard to get things through because of governance dysfunction. And at this point, I suppose along this path, I had a philosopher dad. I know Curtis had a philosopher dad too. There's a lot of similarity in that story up to that point. And then here we part ways.
I will say, at least to this point, she's been, I don't know, she's been cordial. She's been kind of amicable. She's not, I mean, she accepted the terms of the debate, and she's going to debate him. And at least thus far, a couple minutes into it, she doesn't seem like she's pearl clutching or poo-flinging. We'll see if that changes throughout this.
Look,
but she's actually been a little cordial with him.
This isn't going to get blood sporty. Like, this isn't going to be an Andrew Wilson versus some 21-year-old.
But she's talking to an Anders Breivik defender. She's talking to a Nazi, and she's treating him as an equal. She's even like, look at these things we have common ground on. She's actually engaging with him as if he's a not only a person but even an equal, which is kind of interesting.
Curtis sees this kind of moment in American experience, and he says, look, people, the whole history before 20th century, it's all about absolute monarchs, absolute rule, delivering for people. It's about absolute monarchs who operated in a context of belief in racial hierarchy. They delivered for people in the same way that corporations did, with the mission of maximizing their capital. Their capital is land and people.
But I like how she smuggled in racial hierarchy there, because like the Byzantium didn't have a racial hierarchy. There's tons of empires with real deal monarchs that you can question the racial hierarchy of anything, because again, when you start pacing this out through history, it's like this concept of race. Again, we could dive into, well, what do you mean by race? Because there was tons of times in history when racial identity, as we would now define it, was really like tribal identity. Mm-hmm. So Anglo versus Saxon, that existed, right? Britons and all, Bretons and all the other subcultures within Europe, that existed, and some got along and some didn't. But Roman emperors sometimes came from directly from Rome, and sometimes came from provinces. Like it's not this whole like racial hierarchy shit. Like that's a smuggle in. That never actually existed in terms of any kind of real deal monarchy. And you could only maybe make it work in some sort of modernist era, and then that didn't exist either. Like you had freaking French kings and queens ruling Scotland and other places in Europe. That would have been considered considered racial at that time. So, it's always these smugglings. It's really tiring because it's these smugglings of terms and these just assumptions that, well, you must agree upon this, right? You understand these two words. I'm using them together. There's no disagreement in these terms. It's like, well, no, everything you're saying is wrong. If we pull it apart.
Are you feeling tired, Jason? Are you just tired? Are you a tired old man? You're tired with all of the smugglings in. We tired.
Because of wanting to invest in land and
Yes.
people, because of believing in racial hierarchies, they embrace racial cleansing, and that's what you've got to do to have a society that's going to deliver for people. And so Curtis's view is that our 20th century world is founded on lies, the lies of egalitarianism and the lies that democracy can actually deliver for people. And because it's founded on those lies, he thinks it's foundering. He thinks we need regime change. He thinks we need an absolute monarch, unaccountable, no separation of powers, no checks and balances, no limits, and so forth. Could be Trump. We kind of elected him. Maybe that's already happening. That's what Curtis says in his book. Could be.
That's, again, not even anything close to Curtis's position. I mean, some of the things she's saying is kind of close to his position. And he's used sort of some of that rhetoric, but I don't think Curtis has ever argued for no checks and balances. I don't think Yarvin's even really arguing for a true real deal evil Saturday morning cartoon dictator.
He actually in Patchwork he explicitly wants checks and balances between the CEO and the board.
Which is really, again, how these things work is that, and I've explained it before, but the king or the CEO, especially in the absolute monarchy kind of example, which, by the way, is an Enlightenment idea, existed because he's basically the vessel of percentages of sovereignty that the lords, or in this case, let's say the board, would give the CEO. So the CEO is basically the figurehead or the combined essence of all these little segments of power that is being given up and put into that position. That's what Curtis is arguing for. It's not even really like he's arguing for one style of monarchy. It's not even like the only style of monarchy you could argue for.
Book could be Musk. He doesn't say that in his book, but he has said that previously. Hard to say. Trump, Musk, I don't know, duck, rabbit, one or the other. One of them, anyway, is in charge, going to run things for us and make everything better. Now, clearly, we part ways in that question of how to respond to the current moment. Why? Partly that history is false in his book. It is not the case that autocracies over the course of history have delivered good for human beings. They have consistently violated.
What the fuck is her argument? What is it? What?
I don't think she's gotten one yet.
I don't think she has one. She can't have one. Her entire thing is like, he's wrong. My argument is he's wrong. Okay. Well, but is there a positive argument for your case? Is there a positive argument for democracy in your case? Or is it just Curtis is wrong? That's it. That's all you got? Like, Curtis is wrong and evil, probably. Ooh. Racial hierarchy. Ooh.
Violated freedom. And I will come back to that point. I want you to focus on the idea of freedom and what it is worth to you. The second point is that egalitarianism is not the weak-minded invention of the 20th century. Egalitarianism has been with us for millennia, has been growing in force, goes all the way back to antiquity. Christianity extended it. Already in the early 1600s, you had indentured servants who struck for the right to vote in Jamestown. That same spirit showed up in Plymouth. Ditto the spirit of egalitarianism for all human creatures, Africans as well as everybody else. The Declaration of Independence was earnest in its commitment to equality. It led to the abolition of enslavement in Massachusetts, as well as in Pennsylvania and Vermont before the end of the Revolutionary War. Rhode Island had already rejected racial hierarchy before the Revolutionary War. In other words, it is not a weak-minded idea.
How are any of these things good things? Okay,
all she's saying is that there was egalitarianism at different points. I mean, she's not even substantiating those things. She's just declaring them to be the case. But even if they were the case, who gives it? Like, what does this have to do with the resolution here, which is that society is better run through centralized executive power versus institutions of democracy? She's just like gish galloping that there was democracy, there was egalitarianism in places. Uh-oh. We lost the man. Hold on. We'll get him back. Here he is. Show on stream. There he is.
Hi. Who?
He's back.
Who? I'm back. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, to your point. I made this prediction. I haven't watched this yet. I made the prediction. What did I say? Lots of statements, no arguments, no justification for any of it. The idea is, okay, let's just give you egalitarianism, which I think is bullshit, but we'll give it to you. Fine. So what? So what? Egalitarianism exists, therefore democracy is egalitarian, therefore good? We haven't established that even egalitarianism is good. Just the fact that it exists doesn't make it good. Slavery existed for thousands of years. Is the establishment of something for thousands of years make it good? Monarchy existed for thousands of years, more successfully and more long running than any democratic system. Therefore, monarchy must be good under the same premise. It existed for a long time. Ergo, some good. What the fuck is she on about? I need crayons. Just so I can
This is I mean, it's hardly surprising, but it is
feisty, Jason. You're getting feisty, Jason. I want to fight you. I want to fight this woman.
This is the caliber of person that represents these institutions now. This is what they produce. This person who even on the terms of her own culture, she can't hack it.
Of the 20th century. What it does, rather, is reflect the claim of ordinary people to freedom. That's all. It's that simple. That's what egalitarianism means. Freedom is both the power to steer my own life in my private circumstances and to contribute with others to steering the public life and shape that constrains us all, the norms and
Communist Soviet Union was egalitarian. It's no longer existing. Germany Germany and Italy during those times, also democratic, also promised egalitarianism. So you're gonna have to defend on that lines. Like, where the fuck are you? Where do you think you're going with this?
So she says there's two things she said back to back there. Freedom is something having to do with ordinary people being able to make decisions both about their own lives and about society collectively, about the things that constrain us about society. So freedom is us constraining one another through societal mechanisms.
Somehow, yeah. We're supposed to constrain. We're supposed to achieve power and then constrain power voluntarily, because good. Because constraining power equals good, and you want to be good, don't you? Don't you want to be a good little boy and girl? You don't want to be bad.
You need to be the ordinary person needs to be liberated, but society needs to be constrained by all the liberated ordinary people.
Right.
How's this work?
By egalitarian agreements. That's
right.
all. But just by agreements. Also, we probably can throw in force doctrine here for Andrew Wilson. It's like, does she understand that her entire worldview, everything she's defending, her entire life is held up by men who are deciding to grant all this bullshit? And the moment that they decide, any percentage of them, 25% of men in any standing population decides to say, no, we're not doing this anymore, it's done. It's over, finished, bye, goodbye, or at least temporarily suspended. And who are you going to appeal to then? If the big manly men with guns decide to do something with those big manly men with guns and lead them to a certain down a certain path, you're fucked, sunshine. It's a good thing you got that jacket. You'd be working at fucking Home Depot. Like, the fuck is wrong with you?
Gonna get fitted for an apron. At least you can wear your cool shoes there.
Yeah, tell us all about your family past then. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, geez. Your grandfather really gave her one there. Oh, fucking.
Please sweep the floors, ma'am.
Yeah, where's the nails? I just asked you where the nails are. I don't care about what happened in Chicago.
If you love freedom, there is only one possibility, because every unaccountable, and no absolute power is ever accountable. That's the definition of absolute power, is it is not accountable. No absolute power is ever accountable.
Okay, I don't love freedom. Now what?
Yeah.
Now what?
I want unaccountable absolute power. Not for me. I want unaccountable absolute power for someone else. Doesn't matter to me. What now?
Yeah, to Bob over there. Bob seems like a really nice guy. I want to give him all the power. What's the? Don't worry, he's going to be totally egalitarian about it because it existed.
Absolute power inevitably corrupts, tramples on, persecutes freedom. So the question that we have right now is not whether to have democracy and the protection of freedom, but only how to have that. The only question is, can we redesign our institutions to achieve that? And we can. And the single most useful thing that we could immediately do is party reform. Get rid of party primaries, get rid of the capture of power by political parties that work on the basis of a shrinking base of population to control our institutions. We, the people, need our power back.
Wait, wouldn't that just be a constraint on power? Isn't she just arguing? Explain this to me, because she's just saying that there's mechanisms that are unjustly controlling people, but she's arguing for restraint. So wouldn't that what she wants to remove just be a removal of this restraint on power?
Yeah, this is utterly incoherent. This is sheer yeah, this is tripe.
Our power back. And with that, we can, in fact, redesign our institutions for effective functioning.
Thank you, Professor.
Isn't it fascinating that the institutions just constantly have to be redesigned?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Every institution that you get, well, it's not good. We have to be permanently dedicated to the task of redesigning our institutions. It's kind of like construction on the highway outside our house over here. It's just going to be under construction for the foreseeable future. And as soon as it's not under construction again, well, that's a reason, we need to get it under construction. And you know what? When you need to redesign an institution, that's an opportunity to write a whole bunch of grant proposals.
Mm-hmm.
Alan, Mr. Yarvin, your response and your own presentation.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone who made this event possible. Professor Allen, of course, showed a lot of courage here and a lot of hard work. I'd like to also thank, Harvard University. We're not supposed to mention the name of the school.
Unclear.
Unclear. I'd like to thank everyone who made this possible, including the school where we are, including Passage Press, my publisher, including the John Adams Society, woohoo, out there in the public. And yeah, I think it's sort of a great opportunity to kind of test my views against Professor Allen. I guess I would say, I grew up in a sort of very different context. I grew up inside what's called the deep state sometimes, because my father was a foreign service officer and my mother worked at the DOE and my stepfather actually worked on the Hill for many years.
It's the Jewy version of the streets, really.
Yeah, right.
He was raised a poor black child.
Well, he's got to go through his bio as well. So maybe this is just a customary thing for this particular social class. Is at the beginning of your debate statement, you have to delineate your entire bio to provide the context for the position you're about to elucidate.
And now teaches at Hopkins SAIS. And he worked for Biden, actually, for a while. And when I observed sort of the underbelly of this system from the inside, it did not seem to have very much to do with the kind of abstractions that Professor Allen talks about. And so in a way, I have kind of two preliminary responses to Professor Allen's narrative. One is that, reading her book, and I was reading, Democracy. Was Democracy is a Path to Justice? Is the
Other way around, my friend.
Justice is a Path to Democracy.
Justice by means of democracy.
Justice by means of democracy. And reading that, I was sort of like, it made me feel like I was reading, in a way, a work of Islamic history that was written by a Muslim. And I'm like, because this is someone who believes entirely in the system that she's describing. And so...
Look at her face! Will it let me go back here?
And the guy was like, mm.
Oh, I went back too far. It's jumping back in big chunks.
It's okay, play it again. Play it again. Play it again. Play it again. Play it again.
By a Muslim.
No,
and
wait,
I'm like,
wait.
because this is...
Look at her face!
The guy in the middle, too, like, how do I react to this?
She's like, this nigger. God, I wonder if she's gonna call him a kike. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great if she just totally like Black Hebrew Israelited out on him?
Bagel.
To someone who believes entirely in the system that she's describing. And so, not to, of course, have any negative discussion of the Muslim faith, but the thing is, if I'm reading a Muslim history of, say, the Abbasids of Damascus in the 9th century, written by a Muslim, I expect them to be very concerned.
Nice save there, Yarv. I'm not saying anything wrong about the Muslims or Muslim history. I'm just saying, like,
with, is this the true caliph? Is this the real Islam? And so on and so forth. None of which, as a non-Muslim, are questions that really relate to me. And so when I read, for example, A Justice by Means of Democracy, I sort of notice every chapter starting with, there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. And I'm like, I get it, this is what you believe in. But these abstractions seem uncorrelated with the realities. And what this reminded me the most, besides this observation about Islamic history, is it reminded me of one of the books.
Sorry, just as a side note, I know some people are calling into question this whole debate thing that's kind of repopularizing itself. It's been, you had the new atheist kind of debate scene for a while there, and then it's kind of gone like a little bit quiet. And now debates are becoming more and more popular. Of course, Tim Pool's doing his own like side debate show, whatever, Jay Dyer, all the names, Crucible. And I guess some people are questioning, like, debate me bros kind of thing. Like there's a moment in time here that's really fascinating to me, because what Curtis is doing here is the same kind of general tactic I see Jay Dyer, Jim Bob, Andrew Wilson, and others doing, is simply by simply rejecting the prior and going, no, I'm not accepting your frame. Like, I can stand in your frame. I know your frame. I heard it all before. We're going to reject it. And so let me say, I don't believe what you believe. Now what? What's your next step? Because re-reviewing the New Atheists when they were debating all these apologists, in the early 2000s, where the apologists tended to fail is that the New Atheists would drag them into the liberal frame, and both people were agreeing with it. They were agreeing with certain precepts and foundational, word concept fallacies. And so the New Atheists could just have that advantage. Like, well, if you agree with this, then you have to agree with that. What these guys are now doing, what I think what Kurt is about to show here, is simply going, I reject it. I just reject your central premise. What else you have? Oh, nothing? Now it's just statements. It's floundering after that.
He called her, he's insinuating that she's a detached egghead. He's like, you're interested in all these academic abstractions that have nothing to do with actual real life. And she wants to be all about how she's from the streets and she knows she's has the lived experience, and she's had all the struggles, and this is what's informed her Justice by Means of Democracy or whatever, which I think he knew exactly what it was called. And that was, if you have a half-black woman who is a Harvard academic and has been her entire life, and she's written this book, and you fuck up the title of her book at the biggest event she's ever going to be a part of, that is absolutely going to make her seethe. I think he probably did it on purpose. But because immediately after that, he gets it just fine. He has no problem with it at all. So he intentionally screwed up the title of her book. But he's telling her he's this whole thing you made, this is very nice, very well reasoned. It's all great. Doesn't mean anything. This is you are a religious zealot elaborating on the tenets of your religious faith, and the tenets of your religious faith have no bearing on reality.
That I really learn political philosophy from, because I'm an adherent of what's called the Italian school of political philosophy. And there was a great introduction to this, which I found by chance in a used bookstore, which is James Burnham's The Machiavellians. And The Machiavellian starts with, I think, one of the great political essays of all time, which it is a takedown
everyone should also keep in mind, and just as a side note, because it's brought what Matt Arrett brought this up in our talk this week with Jim Jatras, is that James Burnham was a Trotskyist, right? He was deep into the Trotsky mentality. So it's good to read Machiavellians and Suicide of the West, and I've read those, and I found lots of points of agreements and lots of good information there. But always keep that in mind when you're reading Burnham, is that he's coming at it from a uber communist element. Like, it may sound like he's criticizing the managerial state. He's actually very pro the managerial state. Like, this is sort of a wet dream for a lot of these guys. So,
down of Dante. And it is a review of Dante's book, De Monarchia. And Burnham, who was at the time metamorphosing from a Trotskyist into a neocon, and he was one of the first to make that transformation. This book is written in 1940. Looks at this, he reads De Monarchia, which is a book of political theory by none other than Dante, and he summarizes the arguments of De Monarchia in a way that sort of describes these kind of very, very lofty abstractions. And then he's like, all right, you can't even process these abstractions, let's process the reality. And so the reality is, instead of talking about abstractions, what Dante is really talking about is the conflict between two political factions, known as the white Guelphs and the black Guelphs, I believe. And all of these abstractions are basically Dante's way of saying, I forget if this is the white Guelphs or the black Guelphs that Dante is a member of, but it sort of reduces to a very specific set of political behaviors. So I think when I looked at sort of the reality in which I lived, I noticed sort of abstractions like democracy that are used in ways that, seem very, I think tendentious is not too, difficult a word. And so, for example, when I read Professor Allen's, definition of democracy, she seems to define democracy, almost the word, the symbol, as a good. And then defining the symbol, what constitutes democracy, it's not simply having elections, it's principles like difference without domination, it's basically principles of like, you can't be a democracy just having elections and electing leaders who, take office and exercise power because they won the election. That's not democracy. Oh no, democracy is sort of all of these intangible things that go along with this. And I'm like, is this the world's longest case of no true Scotsman? Because actually,
yeah, exactly. Basically, I think he's condensing this down brilliantly. Is that she's trying to say that democracy is all the good things, and all the consequences of democracy are the necessarily bad things. But that has nothing to do with democracy. That's the institution's fault, or funding, or other auxiliary elemental forces, climate change, who knows what. That's leading to these bad results. Democracy is good, though. We all agree democracy is good. Just the outcomes we have to constantly manage and produce better results from, like, because democracy good.
And that's
But
why we have to
everything
keep
leads to that.
overhauling our institutions.
Right.
You have to have our permanent revolution.
So if I'm going about to defining a Scotsman, I might say it's someone who was born in Scotland, or someone who's a Scottish citizen, or sort of simple cases like this. And when I define democracy, I'm like, there's a very simple question: how democratic is this country? And my answer to that is simply taking this, not, going back and separating the is-ought distinction and saying, I'm like, how much power do the voters have? If the voters have no power at all, for example, in the EU, they'll frequently talk of the democratic deficit, indicating that actually the parliament, the European Parliament that's elected by the voters, is almost entirely symbolic and has no power. And actually, the real Europe is run by the European Commission, which is accountable to nobody, like the Supreme Court. And so actually, or like Harvard. And so, what we see people defending when they defend democracy, so-called, is they'll use terms like civil society, or they'll say our institutions. And these things seem to me to have nothing at all to do with giving power to elections. So, for example, I may be somewhere in the book, but I did not find any recognition in Professor Allen's book of the fact that the House of Representatives, the so-called home of democracy as defined by the founders, has a 98% incumbency rate. Or that if you're a freshman representative in the House of Representatives, you start at the very bottom. And so actually it seems to me that if I look at the real Congress, this is actually a buffer against democracy, against populism, as you might say, because when I hear the word populism, I view that as a synonym for democracy. And no, I don't think of it as a good thing. And so actually that difference over the meaning of the word democracy.
Put your mic down. Put it down. You dink.
Seems to me to
I'm gonna respond. No, you're gonna sit there and like it.
be what we should focus on tonight.
Professor Allen, your response?
Well, for starters, I appreciate so much that you've understood that there's conviction in my book. You're quite right that there is conviction in my book. Nihilistic narcissism is not my jam. Maybe yours. It's not my jam.
Actually, no, that's entirely your jam.
Yes.
That's all your jam is. You started off this debate maybe like you said, Matt, maybe they have to like qualify something or other, right? But she went back 3 generations to qualify her ass. Like, how much more sophomoric do you have to be? Like, is there anything that exists outside this woman and her office? Is there anything like that could possibly be a greater force than her? Like,
We're about to find out just how small her world is.
like her head.
So let's talk about democracy specifically.
Yes, let's.
And in order to
finally.
do that, we have to dig deeper into
20
the meaning of
minutes in.
freedom and also
Oh.
the meaning of equality and precisely what it is we're trying to protect. As I begin to do that, let me though also say, I also
Wait a minute. Democracy doesn't have to do anything with freedom and equality necessarily.
No.
Not at all. In fact, in a democratic system, your freedom is controlled by 51% of the vote. So if 51% of the vote, or whatever percentage you want to set it at, votes for something, you got to deal with it.
Well,
You
that's
live
why
under
it's
other
like
people's rule.
when they talk about democracy, I'm like, it doesn't seem like democracy and voting democracy and voting seem to be only tangentially related to each other. The way these people think and talk about democracy. Democracy is more just kind of like a catch-all term for like institutions in society that I like that I can use to grift money for myself.
Well, the ritual and reality are one. So voting is the ritual. The reality is democracy. So the voting somehow substantiates the reality that's called democracy. And everything within democracy, because she's benefiting from it, is good. Therefore, democracy good.
Well, that's
And
that's
voting,
where
therefore,
he
necessary.
says the House has a 98% incumbency rate. So if the House has a 98% incumbency rate, then it seems like there's some sort of breakdown happening in this voting thing, where the voting thing and the democracy thing and the freedom thing all seem to not be all that connected with each other. But you notice, we haven't heard her response here, but it seems as if she's not really addressing anything that he said, and she's kind of just picking up where she left off. Now we need to do a deep dive into to understand democracy. We need to do a deep dive into freedom. Is that what she said?
Freedom and equality.
Okay. She sounds she just kind of uses buzzwords the same way that a libertarian does when a libertarian debates. I just listened to Jim Bob's debate with the Rational Egoist, and he's not a libertarian, but I mean he kind of is a libertarian. And I was just like, I haven't been in that world for a little while, and going back and listening to him try to argue about where rights come from, and it was just like, these are all the same people. They may not think they are, but I listen to them and I'm just like, I want to put all of you into a boxcar together.
Postage, Poland.
Smokestacks.
I hope you make good soap.
think there's a problem with the incumbent for sure. Why did I highlight party reform?
Why?
Precisely because we don't really have competitive elections any longer. So I agree that in many ways our democracy is not functioning to the standard of democracy. Again, that's where we
Wait,
Our democracy is not functioning to the standard of democracy. That is an all-timer right there. Our democracy is not functioning to the standard of democracy. This is what happens when you take mental children and you put them in a crib and let them finger paint on the wall with their own poop. This is what they produce. Oh my God.
Clip it and ship it, folks. Oh, holy shit. Our democracy is not living up to the standard of democracy. Then what fucking good is it? What? My car is not living up to the standards of a car. It has no fucking wheels, but we're still calling it a car, and I still drive it to work somehow. The fuck is wrong with you?
Ma'am, that's a goat. My car is not living up to the standard of carness.
It's eating my shoes. The fuck is wrong with you? You ever hear my Greek story, my Greek joke? When in Greece, never buy a goat from a man named Stavros, because his name is not Stavros, and that is not a goat. But it's like, okay, genius, Mrs. Harvard, way better than me, right? Boy, how are we even reviewing this, Matt? I think we filled out the proper forms, but okay. What's the model for the ideal democracy? Give me the model. Like, point to me to the functioning ideal democracy at any time in history, or I guess it is in the supposed future. And what is that, and how are we moving towards it? Where's the model? Greece? Like, what the fuck? Like, find me one.
Ooh, you know what it is? You know what the model is? The model is whatever the oracles deliver to us as our marching orders. The model, the model of democracy is the oracles go up to the top. They go up to the top of Mount Olympus and they commune with the gods, and then they deliver to us the message of what democracy is today. So today, democracy is throw bricks at Asian shopkeepers. And tomorrow, democracy might be, I don't know, molesting children or something. Like, democracy is whatever the oracles decide it's going to be.
Right. And this is also what happens when, this is why nominalism is a civilization killer, because you get rid of both the metaphysic and the tradition that basically holds it together. So now, again, it's where you can't point to it. It's just this nebulous thing that we're progressing towards, but no one can define it. And so it can just be whatever it is.
What it is it's a political formula. Appealing to democracy is a political formula. And it's a political formula that, as long as people keep pursuing democracy, then Miss Danielle Allen gets her tenure and her NGO board seats and her stipends and all such things. I mean,
yeah, this is the loop around, right? So we're pursuing democracy by applying democracy, even though the democracy we have is not ideal. But if we keep applying this democracy, then we'll break through to the ideal democracy somehow, which is not being defined. But don't worry about it, kids, because it'll get there somehow, as long as we keep applying democracy. Is that about right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I get a Harvard degree now? Is that, can I?
Yeah, that's your entrance exam right there. You just passed it. If the democracy isn't good enough, we just need to democracy even harder.
Right. Just keep applying democracy until it works. You stupid dink.
We agree. The divergence is in whether the question is regime change to unaccountable CEO monarchs, Trump and Musk, or renovating our democracy. Now, again, back to the root and
now
we're
renovating it.
One of the things that Mr.
Well, she does work at Home Depot on the weekends, so
she can get us a discount.
Where do you think she got the jacket? Yeah, exactly.
Yarvin likes to focus on and insist on is that human difference is fundamental, and that we should organize our way of thinking about society based on structures of, again, racial hierarchy. And he introduces DNA as the proof of that.
I would love to hear her argue that people are not fundamentally different when she's here sitting in Harvard in her little Home Depot outfit with her nice little kicks on, and yet people who look just like her are just down the street, being the reason why they have to lock up the liquor, right? Like, look, just from your own demographic, kid, you got pretty big disparaging results. Okay, just saying, like. Yeah, and look, whites too, right? Like, we don't have to make this even racial, but let's make it racial for a second, because why not? We're already there. But how is she going to argue this from her own perspective? like if we just put all the blacks in Harvard, then good. Like somehow she wouldn't want that anyways. That'd be competition.
Proof of that point. Now, and he introduces these points as refutations of egalitarianism. Egalitarianism precedes human difference. There is no such thing as human difference without the category of the human, right?
There's a loading bar that's going.
I'm gonna be right back. I said I wasn't gonna drink, but I need a drink after that one. There's no human difference without. I'm paraphrasing here. There's no human difference without the category of human.
I think what she's saying is that before we can talk about the differences between humans, we have to first recognize that there are humans. We all share the category of being human.
And what the fuck does this have to do about democracy? Being good?
Well, you see,
You had
he believes in hierarchy, which means he thinks some races are better than others, I think. So we need to now differentiate why I don't know.
okay. Talk to the audience or press play. I'll be right back. I'll like literally right back. I'm going to use the facilities and grab a beer because there's no way I'm making through this sober. It's not going to happen. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. I'm surprised we've made it 20 minutes in. This is actually pretty good. We're making good progress here. Let me catch up on some of your guys' chats here while waiting for him to get back. Yeah, everyone thought that the screen froze. It was just Jason and I being dumbfounded. Board seat, but Payless shoes. Now, I'll bet you those shoes are I'll bet you those are $300 kicks at least. This woman gets paid very well. She is not hurting for money whatsoever. Fenris Unbound says, because in their worldview, democracy means universal global equality, but especially anything that screws over whitey. Josh Ham, there are no races. We're all the human race, therefore democracy is for everyone. Witt says, before you can say that one race is better than others, you have to admit that the humans exist. And here's the thing. If humans exist, so the point she's making is this is a great midwit example. And I will grant that I haven't heard the rest of what she's about to say because we paused right after she made that fantastical statement that before we can talk about human differences, we must first talk about the category of being human. Now, this is great midwittery here because this is like someone that's figured out how to think to a single layer of abstraction. So they're like, okay, well, if we're going to talk about human differences, well, prior to those human differences, we actually all have our humanity in common. Therefore, we must all be equal in our humanity. But here's the thing. There is nobody who is a default human. There is no category of like baseline humanity. Humanity is expressed exclusively in its different manifestations. You don't have you don't have like a beta human or something like that. That it's like a human model that was released before all the different differences were piled on top of it. No, humanity only exists in the state of its differences. The particulars of humanity that share that, you might say, that universal category of humanity, they only exist in these particular manifestations that are demonstrably different from one another. So the point that she's making is only a what's the term for this? I can't think of it. It's like it's a term that's relevant only theoretically. It's only like if you were going to do like you're going to make some sort of like a formal theoretical argumentation or something like that that's not meant to actually be applicable to reality. It's like you've created a little sandbox and you're doing simulations and you're going to run simulations within this sandbox that doesn't have to correspond to reality. That her statement would have some bearing there. But
to your
corresponding to actual reality, there is no, you can't go around and find some sort of like point me to the person that is a like baseline human before we include the differences.
Again, we'll bring it right back to Gerard, right? So all desires are external. We don't know what to want until other people want it. We also model other people. Our children model us, right? The child will model the parent until they're introduced to other authority figures, and then they begin to model other people. So foundationally, we're right back to where we started. Even with democracy, show me the ideal democracy. Show me the model that you're shooting towards. Even just as saying like, here's the general blueprint, here's the general thing we want, and we're gonna try to get there and maybe do our own derivations on top of it, right? Okay, cool, fine. At least that's something. Same thing with human, right? The way that she said it too, like, right? We're all human, right? Like, okay, fine, we're all human. I'm going to grant you everything, all the dipshittery she's about to say. Fine, I'll give it to you all. Who's the ideal human? Who's the model? Outside of Christ, who's the model? Anyone? And like Bob? Who are we modeling this humanity after? Your little Marxist fucking bullshit? This thing on a piece of paper? Like, is that what we're modeling? Some sort of vague ideology? Well, we've tried that and it fucking led to millions of deaths. Oops. Every time we try doing that, it's disastrous. People starve to death. It's bad. Doesn't work. We've tried it over and over again. Doesn't work. So even if I grant you this idea that we're all humans and there's a humanity that we're all expressing and that we should be all expressing in some sort of unified fashion, it's like, great, show me the model then. I can do it really easy. He's the guy back there. Like, okay, fine. So Christ then. Oh, no, not that. Well, then who? Please edify me, Harvard.
Every time we try this, millions of people die. And it's like they look at this game where every time we play this game, millions of people die. And they're like, you know what? We need to conceive of an ideology. We need to conceive of a methodology whereby we are doomed to this Sisyphean task of perpetually playing this game, that every time we play this game, millions of people die. Like, redesign or renovating our institutions is like a euphemism for killing lots of people. And we just need to keep renovating our institutions. And if lots of people are dying and there's lots of inequality because there's a difference in equality between the people who are doing the killing and the people who are doing the dying, well, that just means we need to have more people doing the killing and more people doing the dying. And if we keep doing that, then eventually, I don't know, eventually there will be no more people dying. It's such a psychotic, murderous ideology.
People who've been listening to me for a while know that I'm not the only person who talks about this, but I keep talking about this liberal frame, right? What's inside the liberal frame? And a lot of this thinking comes from Father Seraphim Rose's work on nihilism, directly from that book. And one of the greatest, divine pills he delivered was something that's staring you right in the face, is that there's this thing called liberalism. You can make the parallel to Christianity. So there's a category called liberalism. And inside liberalism, you have all these different offshoots. So you have your communisms and your Zionisms and your Marxism and your socialisms and your classic and your this and your that, right? These are all different sects of the same thing called liberalism. So a lot of people have asked the question or supposed the question, what's the real difference between, let's say, socialism, communism, fascism, all these different branches? It seems to be the only difference between these groups is which preferred group is going to be the sacrifice. And you can track it because every different sect has their group that they sacrifice en masse. And so you're rolling the dice, hoping that it won't be me this time. So this new outcropping, this new progressive thing seems to be putting white people in general into the category of sacrifice. We will sacrifice the white people, and that will appease the ideology odds. It's sick. So in Zionism, it happens to be the Palestinians or whoever, right? The other people in that area are the scapegoat, and they will be sacrificed for the aims of the Church of Zionism. If you start looking at it that way, we're right back to pagan culture. Ideologies are just paganism, Gnosticism, give it whatever name you want. And those things demand human sacrifice.
Now, what is it about the category of the human that we are all members of? That category captures the fact that each of us is a judging creature. We have moral capacity, and we're all trying to make tomorrow better than yesterday.
We are? Are we all trying to make tomorrow better than yesterday? This is
What does it
something we
mean?
apparently all partake in, this judging nature.
You know what? I don't
Choose.
even want tomorrow to be better than yesterday. I want tomorrow to be consistent with yesterday. How about that?
Yeah,
I would
right.
just like a good long run, about 20, 30 years of everything being nominally the same. Like, that's what order is. Maybe it gets better. Maybe it gets nominally better for you, me, or whoever. Sure. You make a little bit more money. It's all subjective. But you know what I would like to know is, like, be able to look at 20 years from now and go, it's probably going to be about the same as this. And then you can make plans and go, okay, are things good or bad? For me, or could things be better, in terms of workload, right? But the environment that I'm in isn't going to change radically. I can't say that. Like, literally tomorrow, the powers that be, the WHO just got a whole bunch of people signing on to this new pandemic treaty. So tomorrow they could just trigger a new pandemic, and then life changes completely, radically, right? How do you plan for that? That creates that social anxiety, that little space in your head that now I got to think about bug outs. Now I got to think about this shit. Why the fuck am I thinking about this shit for? Right? I got stuff to do. But now I got to consider the possibility of, like, them shutting down the world again. Okay, well, fuck. What do you do? Right? Like, go to Bali, I guess. What's my plan? But you got to have one now. This is your democracy, lady. This is what you've introduced to the common zeitgeist. Bravo, congratulations. Please, yes, let's just throw more money at it and see what happens.
Wit says that's why we sacrifice children, so that it rains next week.
Moment
Right.
Yep.
by moment, day by day, because we're trying to make tomorrow better than yesterday. In choosing being moral creatures, we are activating our freedom, expressing our desire for it. It is the core of our basic human dignity and what requires protection in order to achieve human flourishing. That is the fundamental ground, the conviction. So yes.
Statements.
Yeah, this is just word
justify. Justify one thing, lady. Just take one little thing that you just said and justify one thing. Dare you. Double dog dare you.
This sounds like a little girl writing a letter to Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's like it's the forward to her new fucking book.
There is conviction in my book, 100%.
Oh, your book. Oh,
but that
well,
conviction is grounded on recognizing again that human
Bible.
equality precedes.
I gotta say that there's some, I don't know. There's something profound about seeing a black woman speaking at length about her conviction.
Human difference. Now, this is not to say that we are all the same. To the contrary, we come in all kinds of different sizes and shapes and colors and.
Okay, so we're not all the same. So we are all the same, but we're not all the same.
Well,
So-
our basic humanity is the same.
Right.
We all evolve from the same Gnostic humanity.
Yeah,
and
we
then
all
split apart.
We all want to we're all judging creatures that want to make tomorrow better than today or something like that. But
Right. But
Capacities
but some of us don't, right? Some of us want to make tomorrow worse than.
yeah, what do you
today
do when you
or
have the
yesterday.
people who want to make tomorrow worse than today? But then are they part of democracy? Do they get to be part of it? Are they
still part of?
because
yeah, are they still part of the
they're all
human
part
moment?
of, yeah, exactly. They're all part of that fundamentally human thing they need freedom, and they need like the freedom to choose how they're going to constrain society or something like that.
Well, and also she's just like 6 degrees away from getting down to brain chemistry anyways. If you really tested her on where's the mind,
Yeah.
how are you coming up with these ideas? Where do these concepts come from? How do you justify any of this? She'd just eventually have to get down to brain chemistry. So you're like, okay, so you're saying that there's good brain chemistry and bad brain chemistry, but we all come from the same brain chemistry, but yet we're expressing that brain chemistry different. But there are no differences. There's just difference in perceptions of brain chemistry. Like, what?
Slutty Milk's got it right here. You just ask her, Ms. Allen, did Uncle Hortler also want to make tomorrow better than yesterday?
Mm.
I think he did. He must have had some of that bad brain chemistry, though.
Right.
He didn't go to therapy. That's what it is. He had a bad therapist.
His art therapy program got cut short.
His therapist wasn't lonely and lesbian enough.
Hey, you didn't see this. I talked about it on members only stream. I'll tell you the whole story off stream. But there's this new term I'm sure you're going to hear trickling around in the therapy circles called reparenting. Oh, it's something, my friend. Oh, it's something.
Oh no.
It's like, hey, how do you fix narcissism? Put more narcissism on it. Like just heap more vainglory on there and see what happens. You know, blame yourself by curing your. Find out what's wrong with you by going backwards into your childhood, blaming your parents, and therefore curing yourself of the original sin of being a shit parent.
These people are like, they're buried so far deep into their own belly buttons that they're forming an Ouroboros with their head buried into their own belly button.
I love how like Matt's bringing like the high quality insults. I'm at the like, fuck off everybody, fuck you, fuck everything. Matt's like wiping your ass with velvet. It's beautiful. And
I was trying to make you
nice
laugh in the middle of hitting a cigarette because I know every once in a while someone will make me do that. Actually, I was listening to Jim Bob the other day while he was doing I don't remember what he said, but I was listening to Jim Bob while I was smoking a cigarette, and he made me laugh right as I was inhaling it. And oh man, I was like taking a squeegee to the backside of my eyeballs to get all the smoke out of my sinuses.
Etc. We are so various, and that is the beauty of humanity. But we can talk about and appreciate human difference only because of human equality. And then also we have to recognize,
what the fuck are you talking about?
that groups are changeable and various, that how people connect evolves over.
No! Fuck this! Fuck, what the fuck are you talking about? The only way we can appreciate human diversity is through equality? The fuck is that? You nonce. I was... Home Depot's too good for you. Take that jacket off.
Give that jacket to Jose. He earned it.
I don't know where you get to work now. Just get on the dole, you dink. What the fuck is that statement? And the conviction she's saying, or her black woman conviction. Oh, Lord. Oh, we at the revival now, Lord. Come on, I can feel the spirit now, Lord. We can always celebrate our diversity through equality. What? It's like retarded Gnosticism. Like there are Gnostics. Like, if we could teleport her back 1,000 years, and there'd be a whole bunch of Gnostics going, "You've missed the point." Like I don't know where did we lose you? Where's the Gnostic whiteboard? Like no. It's all one. Like we're all part of one, and we're all returning to the one. Like where did we lose you in terms of this diversity and equity stuff? Like is there inclusion as well? Can we get to inclusion? Is that the next step? Is that your next big brilliant fucking point on your fucking index card? I hate these people.
They would be, if she went back and she met the Gnostics of 1,000 years ago or whatever, they would be like, "Hey, how did you get into the public baths? The fields are that way."
And it is impossible to say what strivings and what talents land where within the population. And the only way we can maximize the value of human beings is to maximize our protection of freedom. That's it. And so, what protects freedom?
What? Is this getting down to autonomy now? Is it what we're really getting to? That, autonomy equals self-empowerment? Is this the argument? This is Reddit tier shit.
So the only way, let me see here, what's her line of argumentation? The only way that we can appreciate the diversity of humanity is through the equality of humanity. And there are lots of different talents spread throughout the population. So the only way that we can maximize everyone's talents is by maximizing freedom. Because what's implicit here is that not having freedom means that your talents aren't fully expressed.
GDP go up.
Well,
It's the same shit.
I'm pretty sure that the autocratic leader, his talent is probably being expressed pretty well. And that autocratic leader can identify people of talent and enable them to express themselves as well. This is just incoherent jibber jabber. This is this is like the shit that she writes herself in her affirmations in her diary and just reads them back to herself, and she thinks that they satisfy standards of argumentation or something.
It's I don't even.
There's no slam poetry there. Without poetry. Yeah. This is just slam poetry. This woman wasn't bullied enough when she was growing up. That's what we're saying.
She wasn't bullied at all. That's the whole problem.
Yes.
She was the one doing the bullying.
Freedom, governing ourselves in our private sphere, and governing together with others in the public sphere. And there's only one name for that.
Hold on.
Democracy.
What? Say this again.
That's it. And so, what protects freedom? Governing ourselves in our private sphere and governing together with others in the public sphere.
What protects freedom? Governing ourselves in the private sphere and governing together with people in the public sphere. So what protects freedom? Everything.
Also, where's the delineation? Where does it tick over? Where
Right.
does self-governance turn into communal governance?
This is a completely incoherent gobbledygook.
Get angry, Matthew. Get angry with me. Come on.
What protects freedom? Governing ourselves privately and governing ourselves publicly. Okay, so what protects freedom? Governing ourselves. Therefore, democracy.
Let's dig into the self-governing aspect. Okay, just we'll pull it apart. Okay, what's the model for self-governance? You're regulating yourself. You're governing yourself to what end? To produce what? More freedom? Then that would be less regulation. Maximize freedom would be less regulation, right? Like you would just simply know what good is, and you would maximize good through maximizing freedom by maximizing restrictions on oneself, just to govern oneself. Like to govern essentially means to place restrictions. Like it's a set of taboos.
Mm-hmm. If you have a governor on your vehicle, it's the thing that restricts you from driving past a certain point.
Right. So we're supposed to restrict ourselves in order to maximize freedom somehow, right? And we're supposed to self-regulate that again without a distinct model of being. Okay, and then we're going to do communal governance. So we're going to self-govern ourselves and then join in groups to do what exactly? Because if we're all self-governing inherently by being human, and we all want to self-govern because we all want good things, then what would the community need to do? Like, is a community affirming our self-governance or governing others who haven't caught up to our self-governance yet? Like, this is mush.
I think you will find better than this on Reddit. Like I want to bring this back to highlight this. This is Harvard. This is a Harvard professor. People spend their entire childhood slaving to get themselves into Harvard so that they can go learn from someone who, frankly, probably should have been a chef at Denny's.
Waffle House. Come on.
Yeah, Waffle House. I don't know. I got to see her toss a chair first to see if she would qualify at Waffle House. She's a sturdy madam here. I'm sure she could chuck a chair if she needed to.
She got those lower thighs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
right.
Like weightlifting calves.
Honestly, like cognitively, that's the level that she's at. The only reason that she is a Harvard professor is because of the class she was born into.
And what kills me too, right, is if you encountered someone in the wild who's repeating her exact same points, and you were able to rebut, sort of rebut them, their automatic response is like, "Oh, you just don't understand. You're
Right,
just not
yeah.
educated enough to understand this." It's like, you don't need to be educated to understand that you're full of shit. Like I don't need a piece of paper to verify that you're full of shit and that nothing you're saying makes sense. Like none of it. It's a circular self-congratulatory argument that's based on these words and premises that have no justification outside of you just saying them and attaching the word good to them. That's it. This is good. These words good. These words bad. We say the good words and then vaguely live these good words somehow. I don't know. And then but we don't do the bad things, and we don't talk about the bad thing. We don't say the bad words. If we don't say the bad words, we can't be bad, right? It goes without saying.
I was talking about this on the lab yesterday. This is cargo cult behavior.
Yes.
She
Exactly.
is in a cargo cult where she is LARPing as a philosopher. She's LARPing in the Harvard once had learned, educated, brilliant men who actually thought deeply and contemplated these things. She's using the words, but she's just been trained on this meter where if you use a certain pacing and you put these words together sort of in a particular way, then everyone just stands up and claps like seals. And then someone strokes you a check and you go buy another cat or whatever. This is cargo cult. She is like cognitively equivalent to the person who is dancing alongside the fire, like banging sticks together or whatever, trying to make it rain. She just has a Home Depot vest on instead of a jacket, instead of a loincloth.
Now you can't unsee it. I know. As you see it, you can't unsee it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you send Matt and myself some tips along the way. Appreciate you for this fine content. Thanks, Matt, of course, for having me on as your co-host partner for Network Armageddon Electric Boogaloo. We got bills to pay, folks. So I know I hate grifting. I hate asking all the time. It's a pain in the ass. But if you appreciate us and appreciate the content and want to see more of it, please do use the links and send Matthew and myself a little bit of your hard-earned dollars. We appreciate it.
Drop your link in the chat and I'll pin it up there. So they've got
these Red Bulls. These Red Bulls don't come cheap. So
how much is a Red Bull in Australia? If a pack of cigarettes is $30, how much is a Red Bull?
A pack of 8 cost me $20 Australian. So you whatever the math. I was going to buy a tub of ice cream as well, but it was $14. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
$14 for a tub of ice cream?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, again, Australian. So like, if you came over here, you'd be like, oh, it's like $7, and not a big deal. But like for me, I'm still using Australian dollars. So that's what I'm saying, folks. Like every little bit helps because shit here's a crazy. Like I won't even tell you how much my tobacco cost me.
How much does a tank of gas cost there? Or how much is it? Do you do gallons of gas or do you do the like liters per kilometer or whatever, kilometers per liter?
Kilometers per liter, but I mean, our car is a truck, and so it's with diesel, so it's a different thing.
It's diesel price. I don't know what diesel prices are.
Yeah, it basically is like it's like $110 to fill up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's probably about twice what it is here. I just saw gas for $2.26 while we were driving down into San Antonio today. $2.26 a gallon. So that would come out to per liter. I guess it would be approximately 55 cents a liter or so, something like that.
My StreamLabs link is in there.
Okay, I'll pin it.
There's only one name for that, democracy. All the rest is a question of engineering. That is what he's really asking about. Mr. Yarvin here is really asking questions about engineering. And yes, we have a heck of a lot of engineering improvements to bring to our democracy.
Mr. Yarvin, a question for you. Obviously, this topic of accountability within your proposed system, that's obviously a question everyone has. You know, how you deal with that problem, namely, how do you make some kind of strong executive, how do you hold him accountable, properly speaking?
I feel this guy had to jump in because even he realized like he can't respond to this bullshit. Like, what
Right.
are we gonna respond to? Like, she said nothing. Like, the white man knows that. I'm like, what's this jigaboo's fucking talking about? This shiboon, fucking just nonsense words.
This is Harvard. They're at a prestigious academic university, and this is the sort of thing that you might get from I don't know, like someone at a freshman in high school writing an essay for their first research writing class or whatever. Like it's
Well, you'll notice even her rebuttal. There's no rebuttal. She didn't rebut anything that Yarvin
right.
talked about.
Yeah, right.
She just restated her case longer this time.
I'm a white guy,
with
and I'm
more
ready to kill.
aphorisms. And so all she got is back down to, it's not democracy's fault that all the results of democracy are bad. It's just we need to work on all the results of democracy. We got to keep democracy, but it's just the results that are bad that we have to work on.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to keep working on it.
Yeah.
$20 tip from I can't pronounce that. That is not an English word I'm familiar with, but Rothgar, perhaps? Rothgar is my guess. $20. He says blackpilling is treason. Indeed it is. And you know the punishment for treason. I do appreciate that we've been stuck on 109 viewers for a while now. I think we need to get to 110. Someone needs to share the show to get us up to 110 because we're stuck on 109. And that's not...
Let me know.
109 needs a 110. You guys know it. So thank you, friend, for the super chat. Very much appreciate it. Keeping populating Matt's streamer salary. This is my you guys are my employers. You pay my bills. This is my payroll. You guys determine how much I get paid. So thank you for that. And I didn't see I haven't seen your link dropped in the chat here, Jason. So I can't pin it yet.
I'll do it again.
Okay. I have a feeling we're not going to have to react to a whole lot whenever Yarvin talks because he just kind of talks sense.
I thought that was the second part of the debate.
No, the second part's about Harvard itself and what Harvard
There it is,
represents.
Matt.
And, you know, in
All right.
this
Well,
sort of elite formation
let
institutions.
me take a step back and let me first respond to Professor Allen's point about equality, which consists of what I would say a lot of relative.
It's basically one academic West Coast verbal fry against another at this point now. Like,
relatively unfalsifiable abstractions. To slightly sharpen the point, I would say that if we consider the statement, all men or all human beings are created equal, we can consider that as an abstract expression of philosophy, as a kind of confession of religious faith, or we can consider that as an empirical statement. If we were to consider it as an empirical statement, I would say, okay, if you consider that true, here's a much more true statement. All identical twins are created equal. And
What does that mean?
I mean that all identical twins are basically born genetically equal with the same capacities and the same needs and the same goals. I completely reject the idea that all human beings are, sure, we have many things in common, but the regime, the way of living, one of the basic truths of essentially classical political philosophy, which is being rediscovered to this day, is that there is no system of government that is appropriate for all peoples at all times. And as a reductio ad absurdum, I would point to the question of uncontacted tribes. Okay, what is right for the citizens of Greater Andaman Island? Okay, should we invade the Andaman Islands? Should we take away their bows? Should we give them the right to vote? What about the citizens of uncontacted tribes in the Amazon? Is it right for them to be basically rounded up, issued with ballots, and told to vote for the president of Brazil? Will that really be the thing that helps them, basically choosing between Lula and Bolsonaro Jr.? No, I don't think that that's what these people need. And my standard of government goes back to Alexander Pope, who had this great line, for forms of government, let fools contest, whatever governs best is best. I think I messed that up a little. And so when I look at the objective results of governance in this country today, I can't help but observe, our burned out, desolate inner cities. I can't help, but observe there are numerous places in this country where you can go that were clearly flourishing 50 years ago that are no longer flourishing. And in my standard of government, I basically return to Thomas Carlyle's idea of the condition of England question. And, this is an explicit kind of renunciation of statistics. You say that, when you consider the condition of England or the condition of anywhere, look at them and say, how are these people living? Is the government helping them to flourish? Is it helping them to live well? I think one of the things that I noticed most closely in Professor Allen's work is that there's this return.
I can't get over just the look on her face. She's just sitting there, just blankly staring forward.
Yeah, but what's she gonna say? What can she say? Like, he's actually engaging with her argument.
She's on her own campus, and she couldn't look more uncomfortable and out of place.
Turning emphasis to what might be called a positive liberty or the liberties of the ancients, which is essentially this idea that exercising political power is a matter of birthright and is a matter of being very important to the nature of a human being in a civilized society. I'm with Charles I on this, who said a subject and a sovereign are clean different things. I actually believe that there is a natural desire for political power that is essential not only in our human ancestry, but actually in our simian ancestry, because we observe that chimpanzees live in a very similar way. If you want to be a chimpanzee who spreads his DNA, you better be the chief chimp. And so this desire for power, this importance, this sort of lust for mattering. Everyone who writes an admissions, essay to Harvard, wants to make an impact on the world. They want to change the world. They want to do all these things. They want power. And, and for me, that desire for power, which seems to Professor Allen to be a very positive thing and a thing that is entirely.
Yeah, she's basically just having to sit there and wait and try to find the one word she can use to then go into her next speech. Like, it's just like little files of speeches that she has pre-prepared in her head.
Right.
That if he says one thing, then she can launch into it. And if he doesn't say any of those things, she'll just launch into one anyways.
Yeah, if he doesn't say one of the things to kick it off, then she'll just pick up where she left off before and just starts running. She starts running the .exe files.
Fairly benign. I see that actually as a kind of lust, really almost as a sin that is sort of caused great damage to the world and the lives of those now living.
I assume you'd like to respond.
I will. Is there time still?
Yeah,
Yep. Alrighty. No, I would like to, because I'd like to clear up a couple of confusions. So the first is about the term equality, and the second is about the term power. So, for starters, equality. Equality comes.
There's no. It's like she's just going to introduce word concept fallacies.
Yeah.
No one's.
Here's my
mystified by the
special
word
definition.
Power or equality. Yeah. Here's my super special definition that no one else uses or agrees with. But now I'm just going to posit it as if it's true because I work at Harvard. That's how this works.
Comes in a variety of forms. It's really important. Anytime somebody wants to talk to you about equality or egalitarianism, ask them what kind of equality they mean. They may be talking about human moral equality. They may be talking about political equality. They may be talking about social equality. They may be talking about intellectual equality. They may be talking about economic equality, etc. In other words, you don't know what somebody means by equality or egalitarianism until you ask them precisely which concept of equality they're using.
Then why do you keep using the terms without defining them, you dumb fucking bint? What the fuck is this?
And
Seriously.
notice, maybe she does. We got to watch and see. She's not asking him what kind of equality he's talking about. She says, now remember, when someone uses the term equality, you have to ask them what kind of equality they're talking about. So is she going to ask him what kind of equality he's talking about?
And the only reason we're talking about equality and egalitarianism and all this other shit is because she brings it up.
Right.
It's her terms that she smuggled into this thing.
And I don't think she's defined them. I mean, she probably has in her own mind, but to me, it was just like Charlie Brown adult noises. Wah-wah, 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 wah-wah.
Human beings are morally equal in the way that I described. We are all members of the same species. Even those identical
Human beings are morally equal. We are all members of the same species. These are not synonymous statements. You would need to justify these statements if you're going to make these statements equal. Human beings are all members of the same species. Therefore, they are morally equal is a non sequitur. There is no correspondence between those.
All mammals are mammals. Even the predator and prey mammals are all just mammals. So they should just all get along. Even the predator and prey are just misunderstood. Because they're all mammals. They all want the same mammal things, right? They all want, to raise offspring and feed them milk and gestate them for, a few months or weeks or whatever it is and go be mammal, be mammal life. It's, the bear and the mouse, same thing. It's just the same thing.
twins are morally equal to each other. They're also equal to each other in some other ways that most other human beings are not equal to each other in, but let's not confuse our different concepts of equality. That's really important. And again, anytime you hear anybody critique egalitarianism, ask them to account for what.
No one was critiquing egalitarianism until you brought it into the debate. You're the one.
She's literally not following her own prescription right now. Because if she was, she would be turning to him and she would be saying, what sort of equality are you talking about? She's literally telling everyone, when somebody uses equality or egalitarianism, ask them what form they're talking about. But then she's not going to actually ask him what form he's talking about. Because this is just moral preening. Right.
Account of equality precisely are they critiquing? And if they can't offer an accurate account of the theory of equality or egalitarianism they're critiquing, you should pass that argument by. So that's the first point.
Can I ask a quick check on that?
No, let me make the second point, and then you can come back, because you had a lot in what you said. So let me just make the point about power. A couple different categories here. Freedom, self-government, power, and domination. What, Mr.
Oh, wow. Look, she's saying words. Look, words.
This is word thinking.
I'm sure some words are bad words. Domination, that sounds bad. Power could go either way, right? It could be like self-empowerment, good. Or power used by the big bad people like Trump and Elon Musk. That's bad. That's the bad power. We only want the good power, the happy power. Ever have any happy? We should just have some happy power, man.
My favorite kind of power is the power that comes from my wall. Runs my vibrator.
Mr. Yarvin is attributing to me in the treatment of power is actually the concept of domination. Yes, human beings are beset with a drive to dominate others. We watch that all around us all the time.
Domination, sad word. Don't like that. React in the chat. Give me some sad face in the chat. Domination.
Listen here, bitch. I saw the sales numbers for 50 Shades of Grey. I know that you and your kind don't think that domination is a bad thing.
I think she's just kink shaming a whole bunch of people there, man.
Right,
I think that's wrong, isn't it? That's a misuse of
completely
power.
Unacceptable.
I mean, hang on. We're all humans. We all want the same thing. So maybe we all want domination. If if the sales of 50 Shades of Grey says anything, then we all kind of want to be dominated, I guess. I don't know.
What if
Probably
I
why
do?
she-
I don't make these rules. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said, what if I do?
Right.
Should I
Yeah,
have?
what if I?
Do I have a right to be dominated if I want to be?
Well, but not by the bad stuff though. Only by the happy domination. Maybe we can introduce some happy domination. That'd be good.
I press
in
the
this
like
debate
button.
right now between the two of us, coming from both of us in relationship to each other, for sure. Human beings are beset by the desire to dominate. That is a bad feature of human beings. Why? Because the desire to dominate impedes the desire and aspiration for freedom coming from somebody else.
Why is the desire for domination inferior to the desire for freedom? Pray tell.
What if
These are just
what if you-
desires. This is just chemical soup shit happening inside your brain. Why does it matter if someone wants to dominate and someone else wants to be free? Should they not just have it out?
well, freedom is happy word. Domination, sad word.
Right. Yes.
Happy word better than sad word. Happy word has to. So okay, here's a question: should the people who want and desire freedom dominate those who only want domination? Should we dominate them with our freedom, with our happy freedom? You know, because
Mm-hmm.
those bad domination people, they need some what do they need exactly? How do we cure this problem of this domination aspect? You say there's common in humanity, but we're all the same, but we're all diverse.
All right, wait.
We're all equal.
Let me guess. Do we all organize together in large enough numbers that
Right.
we can dominate them?
Well, actually, I think what we have to do is self-govern our domination and then collectivize our domination aspects.
So we need to
in order-
elect dominatrices.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Got it.
The goal, as we seek to protect and support human flourishing, is in fact to achieve spheres of agency for ourselves, for all of us, that we all are able to be full agents. And there is only one way to do
Why is human flourishing the goal, anyways? What is? I know it sounds good, right? It's a euphemism. It sounds good, like live, laugh, love, right? Okay, well, human flourishing, okay, but to flourish to do what? German GDP in between 1932 and 1937 rose by 55%. That was a lot of flourishing. The Soviet Union had the second largest GDP, or they called it something different, but they had the second largest economy post World War until about the 1970s or early 80s. So right after the Second World War, when Stalin was still in charge, the Gulag Archipelago was operating. Hey, GDP was great, tons of flourishing happening. Not for everyone, but just a little bit of for those who weren't being dominated. It was great.
Zach in the chat said Liberty Bibberty and just completely slayed me. Liberty Bibberty.
Liberty bibbity boo.
From I don't know if you have these in Australia, Liberty Mutual commercials.
No.
Got some guys like he's like a voice actor and he's trying to practice the script and he's like Liberty Bibberty. It just hit me funny.
that again by protecting.
But what's the prognosis here? Just apply more liberty? Just more freedom.
Well, she's saying something here about like the goal is for us to have spheres where everyone within that sphere can become a full agent, something along those lines.
Sam Shamoon's orbs have been activated.
Uh-oh.
Protecting our private sphere, and by giving us the opportunity to co-create the public sphere. It is the only solution to the problem of domination.
Why is
Only.
domination a problem? And then what? We're going to co-create the public sphere? It sounds to me like you're going to dominate the public sphere.
But also we're going to co-create the public sphere along with people who like to dominate, right? Because you're saying that there's like that domination is an aspect that's common in humanity. So but if we're going to commonly create a new society, a better society, it's going to have to either include or exclude those people who want to dominate vis-a-vis that human thing, right? So are you going to exclude the domination people? Who can you give me a list? does that list? Does that list include or exclude Hillary Clinton? Just question. Just a question. Just throw it
I'm
out
with her.
there. Right.
So no, when I am arguing for political equality, I'm not arguing for domination. I am arguing for a sharing of power in order to protect freedom for all of us morally equal human beings.
Okay. Oh, all of us morally equal. human beings.
What a bunch of qualifiers in there. So I am not arguing
Oh.
for domination. I am arguing. Let's hear that one more time.
Equality, I'm not arguing for domination. I am arguing for a sharing of power in order to protect freedom for all of us morally equal human beings.
A sharing of power in order to protect freedom for all of us morally equal human beings. So we're all going to share power equally, presumably, in order to protect freedom for all of us morally equal human beings.
But only in the morally equal human being class.
Right.
So you'd have to be morally equal in order to to get into this power sharing scheme, this mutual fund of power.
Right.
That would only exist with morally equal human beings. If there's a moral inequality of some sort, which again, unjustified, just
Then we
claims
dominate them.
Some of you just say, then, well, I mean, you'd have to do something with them, right? I mean, if you don't dominate the dominating people, then you'd have to exclude them. Would you have to use force in order to remove them from your morally equal society?
And
Those
where
who are
does
morally unequal.
if we're going to share power, this implies the power already exists. Because you can't share something that doesn't exist. So we're creating it, or we're acquiring it, or we're like, where's this power coming from that we're all going to share? But we're going to do it without dominating, because dominating is bad. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. The part of the morally equal thing is no dominating. We're not arguing for dominating. We're arguing, and I'll be like, I know some people are cynical. I think this woman wholeheartedly believes every last little bit of the bullshit that she's spouting. I don't think she's smart enough to be cynical about something like this. She 100% believes every last little bit of what she's saying, and she thinks she is slaying. But because these are stupid people. She is a stupid person who believes what she's saying.
It's easy to believe in absolute nothing. Like she's saying nothing. She's just saying words. She believes in the power of these words.
Shout out to Scott Adams. This is word thinking.
Right. Because she's saying words that have power. These are power words in her world. She says these words and writes them down, and then she gets a grant. So obviously, and this is magic thinking, magic earth kind of theory, right? If I say the words and I get the money, therefore the words get me the money. So I'll just keep saying the words because the words produce material wealth for me.
Mm-hmm.
That must be good. So I'll put them on a wall. But it's just, what? But they don't mean anything. They're completely hollowed out. You can't apply these things. And when you do, millions die. Oh, okay. Well, so the system is what the system does.
This is Scott Adams talks about word thinking a lot. I just asked Grok to break it down real simply. It says word thinking is when individuals or groups use words, categories, or labels to simplify complex issues, often to persuade or reinforce biases, rather than engaging with the underlying reality or data. It's about winning arguments by controlling the user interface of language, not by reasoning through evidence. So labels over logic. People assign labels, e.g. racist, socialist, or nationalist, to individuals or ideas, and these labels dictate their conclusions, ignoring context or facts. Word thinkers use analogies or group categorizations to frame issues simplistically. For instance, calling universal healthcare socialism can lead to equating it with communism or Stalinism without rational steps. Adams, trained in hypnosis and persuasion, notes that word thinking is exploited by persuaders, about 1% of the population, who manipulate language to control the 99% of word thinkers. So yeah, that's what this is. This is word thinking. It's just it's using these words that sort of have some baggage that all exist within this milieu, and kind of just like stringing them together to sort of talk about a thing. I think the bit, if you don't take anything else away from this beyond just dumb Shiboon yapping about things, this is indicative of these institutions. When people talk about the Ivy Leagues, when they talk about Harvard and Yale and Brown and Columbia and all these different major universities, this is the caliber of person. She's not uniquely stupid among her peers. She's actually distinctly representative of her peers. This is the regime.
I'm a white guy, and I'm ready to kill.
This is exactly what the cathedral is. And I'll give her mercy here. I think she's too fucking stupid to actually be manipulative. Like, she's not using these techniques to manipulate people. She's been manipulative.
Right.
She's the marionette.
Yes.
Doing the dance. And she's just repeating what other people have told her to repeat because it produces the results. It produces, she gets a new grant, and she, sits on a new board and all these other things. So she's like, wow, magic words. Right. And she's as caught in this spell as everyone else.
Yes.
This is, again, when I go back to the liberal frame concept, is that the importance is to break it, because so many people are caught in this, and so much of the narrative work that people get caught up in is just substantiating the frame. Israel, Palestine, right? Or Russia, Ukraine, whatever. It creates these dialectics, and the dialectic is there to substantiate the frame. It's what's the term? It's fragile. This term, you've used it before. I can't remember the term, but it doesn't matter. The way it substantiates itself is by creating these resentments. The dialectic creates the resentment, right? Creates the conflict, and the conflict often always creates resentment. Like, she's just, even in her little speech there, she created another group. She created an other, right?
Mm-hmm.
The morally
equal people.
Equal, and the morally unequal people. So right away, she's created a dialectic, and therefore there's a conflict, and therefore there'll be resentment. Because if she doesn't get what she wants, and she's like, those morally unequal people are doing it. The morally equal people that I'm part of, we good. Those morally unequal people, bad. Right? That's why I didn't get my grant this month or whatever. Or reverse, right? The people the morally unequal people she's talking about, that category, if you poll them, they're like, I'm getting fleeced and fucked by these people, by these morally equal people are screwing me. And so there's a conflict, and that substantiates the frame, because no one's looking outside of it. No one's looking outside the conflict into what's substantiating the conflict, what needs to exist in order for this conflict to exist. That's why I'm saying you got to break the frame. And the only way I can think of breaking the frame is through orthodoxy. And it's not just because I belong to the church, or I'm beginning my baby steps into becoming with the church. It's because it's the only ideology. It's the only, I don't want to call it an ideology. It's the only way of thinking, the only way of accessing reality that makes you understand that you're in the frame, and it breaks it.
On moral equality.
No good.
$5 tip from Slosher. He says Stalin killed millions of Ukrainians in the Holodomor. Then, when the 1937 census was 18 million short of what he wanted, he just had hundreds of statisticians killed and sent to Gulag so the others would make up better numbers. Yeah, those were the morally unequal people. Those were that 18 million.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see as well, like, this is the point that you're making about this woman here, that she's in a sense she's a victim of her own culture that she's seeking to perpetuate. She's been sucked into the cult. She's been pulled into the cult. She is a victim of the cult. She is a wholehearted devout believer in the cult, because she has been she's had her brains vacuumed out and replaced with a particular flavor of cotton that inclines her to thinking and talking about things in this sort of way. This is the banality of evil right here.
They're hard to listen to, but I would advise anyone listening to this to go check out, sometimes Jim Bob or Andrew Wilson will do TikTok invasions. And it's like the lowest of the low, right? Like, this is like, some people host debate spheres on their TikTok, and it's brutal, right? It's the worst of the worst. But you hear the exact same arguments coming out of their mouth that's coming out of her mouth.
Yep.
With maybe a lesser degree of verbal intelligence, right? They don't speak as good or as polished, but it's the exact same concepts. Exact. So that's what I'm saying, that she's just freaking Redditeer. All atheism is Redditeer? Yeah, here you go.
Yep.
There is no high-mindedness. There is no great concept or great philosophy to attach to it. These people are not better than you. They're literally all the same drugs of just knuckle-dragging idiots who are like, our equality and diversity is somehow related because if we have maximized diversity, we'll have equality. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, those two terms don't go together. But yet, here we are. Like, we're living it.
She's read enough I don't know, PowerPoint presentations that put equality and diversity together that now, again, word thinking. We just put these words together and we, you know, if you start off, I don't know, like you have a slideshow or presentation, whatever, and you've got equality and diversity, and you've got to figure out a way to connect them. How do we have these two things that don't go together? How do we make them connect to each other? All right, well, if we do this and this and this and tie ourselves in knots and, you know, stand on our heads and everything, then we can tie them together. And now we've laid down some new tracks that everyone else can now follow us, and they can do this really awkward, goofy rain dance to connect these concepts that normally wouldn't go together. Well, if you have enough people do that over a series of years and decades, then eventually it just becomes natural to, you know, everyone comes through and they do the really awkward, goofy dance and stretch and bend themselves around in all sorts of weird shapes and contort themselves to make these things work together. And then that seems normal. It's normal to contort yourself into all sorts of awkward and compromising positions to make equality and diversity equal to one another. And it's actually weird if you don't just say, yeah, these two things obviously are not correspondent.
The liberalism is the act of stacking mental contradictions on top of each other and not letting them fall down. The image of the cartoon with the dirty plates and the dish pit stacked to the rafters, just swaying in the breeze. It's always these little tiny contradictions are just stacked on each other, you know, but very perilously. And all it takes is a simple little push, and they all start crashing down. For me, it was watching the George Floyd protests outside my window in Montreal, Quebec, with my baby daughter in my hands. And that was the one where it was like, pink, this does not compute. This shouldn't be happening. Why is this happening? This isn't happening. And look, and there was my mental plates were swaying like crazy by that point. And I just took that one thing, that one religious ceremony outside my window, this, you know, civic religion ceremony happening outside my window, to make me go, nope, can't, no. Right? Like this, and it all came crashing down. And that's the anxiety a lot of people feel, is that sway of all these contradictions you've built on each other, and they just keep stacking the plates. Maybe because they're trying to drive people crazy. But I think finally some breach points happen, like men can be women and women can be men. I think that was just one of those things where people are like, no, you can't hold it. It's a collapsing of categories. And you have to be, I guess, you have to have a job that's paying you to say this shit in order to substantiate it. And you're starting to see people just like, finally, it's all crashing down. All their narratives are falling apart because people are like, I can't balance this one. It's one plate too many.
All right, we're at the 2 hour, 23-minute mark. I've got probably about another half hour or so in me, so we can just go to the 3 hour mark. We're at about the half hour mark on the debate here, so
we've done pretty well. This is good.
I'm pretty impressed. I didn't expect us to get past like 10 or 15 minutes for the whole for the whole thing.
If we get to the 45-minute mark, I assume they're going to open it up to the floor, which we don't have to listen to. But
right, yeah. All right,
so
let's go.
If we get another 15 minutes in there, man. Whew.
Equality and power is fine.
On moral equality and power. So, you know, sort of trying to tease apart some of these, I would say, relatively tendentious definitions. First of all, there's a useful thought experiment here. Surely Professor Allen would not expect, you know, extend the principle of moral equality to chimpanzees. And yet chimpanzees are our cousins. They are, completely related to us, all of us except, I would imagine, except Darwin in this room. And there is, of course, a continuous genetic chain of linkage that traces us back to our simian friends. And so, one of the things, and actually of all people who observed this, it was Stephen Jay Gould, the communist evolutionary biologist, who observed this. Harvard communist evolutionary biologist, Marxist elite.
Look at her face.
He's my cousin. He was related to my third cousin removed. Didn't you know? Like,
he observed, a curious fact, which is that actually there are a lot of missing links between us and the chimpanzee. There's Homo habilis, there's Australopithecus, afarensis, and we would have a lot of trouble if
leaves more credence to your theory that he knew exactly what her name of her book was and just deliberately forgot it.
Yes.
Because he can just pull this stuff off like willy-nilly.
If those more divergent forms were living among us today of deciding, do they deserve moral equality? And so my question, my sort of thought experiment question for Professor Allen is, if we were able to decode the genome of, let's say, Homo habilis, who lived 2 million years ago, and somehow implant that in a human cell like those dire wolves you keep hearing about, and would that be a being with this moral equality that Professor Allen describes? Because if basically if humanness is a Boolean quality, as we say in computer science, if it's 0 or 1, there must have been a mother who was not morally equal to us, who had a child who was morally equal to us. And I'm curious as to how that process worked and how her theory deals with that. Secondly,
this is actually this is actually the great contradiction to bring down evolution itself.
Yeah.
Because in some ways the Catholics got it right, but it's saying like, well, okay, when does it become this thing? There's got to be a tipping point where it wasn't a thing and then it is. So even if you follow humans, it's like at some point we weren't human and then we were. So where exactly is that moment, that tick over? And also that tick over happened to what, millions of us, I guess, or certainly hundreds of thousands, all spontaneous all at once. Okay, sure.
I'm going to make a prediction that she does
so.
not address that point. I expect that there is going to be some, wait for it, chimping.
When it comes to power, it's very interesting. We've heard Professor Allen, praising humanity to the skies here, but then we discover that actually this very essential element of human nature, the desire to dominate, the libido dominandi, as they say, is an essential quality of humanity, and Professor Allen thinks it's bad. She actually wants to reform humanity. She wants to create what used to be called the new Soviet man that would not have that desire. What I observe when I take Aristotle's 3 forms of government, monarchy, oligarchy, and democracy, the rule of the one, the rule of the few, and the rule of the many. And I think Aristotle kind of made a mistake by saying, okay, there's 6 forms, there's a good form and a bad form of each. I really like them as neutral qualities because I think all of those sort of forms of power, and they are all forms of power, are very, very important. And the principles, I would translate monarchy, oligarchy, democracy in today's terms into the principles of authority or authoritarianism. I translate oligarchy as a concept near and dear here at a university that will not be named, as meritocracy or prestige, and I translate democracy as popularity or populism. And so what I see is that all of these forms are active today, and those who believe that our society should be ruled by prestige, by prestigious institutions, by civil society, are very, very against authority. But what you notice is that actually those institutions are quite unaccountable. Nobody elected Anthony Fauci. Nobody elected Anthony Fauci when he basically supervised the program to invent COVID. Nobody.
Well, to steelman the position for the liberal here, she would have to say that the Academy elected Anthony Fauci, because the Academy gave Anthony Fauci his accreditation and the opportunities for Anthony Fauci to apply his accreditation and to move upwards into his position. So technically, the cathedral elected Anthony Fauci.
I'm showing a picture up here right now. I'll DM it to you so you can see it, because you probably can't see it. This this is a meme that I saw a while back that someone, I think the first time I saw this was in it was when the Trump and Hillary debate happened, where and someone captioned this like Hillary said, good thing someone like you with your temperament wasn't in charge of the criminal justice system. And Trump said, right, because you'd be in jail. And this was Trump's reaction. This was Hillary's reaction to it. This is all I see in her face. She's just making that face. Oh shit. Like how did I wind up here? How did I wind up in this position?
It's the reverse of the meme, right? You might be asking yourself how I ended up here.
Yeah, right.
Nobody elected Anthony Fauci when he covered it up. Nobody elected Anthony Fauci when he told us to stand 6 feet apart based on some science fair project that nobody actually knows where that number came from. And so actually, delegating this authority to prestige, which seemed like a no-brainer earlier in the 20th century, seems like maybe there's actually flaws in meritocracy.
And this is kind of Yarvin's mea culpa, because he was very pro vaccine and a lot of the other COVID measures early on. And he's since recanted, and I don't know if he's done it publicly, but this is essentially him being his almost. I would take this as his public mea culpa, if for anyone who's been following him.
And particularly if you can understand where it came from if you know what happened with his wife.
Yeah. Look, the one thing that people have to understand, like I mean, I was telling my mom to get the vaccine at the early days because we didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. Right, and all we knew that it was offing people in their 70s. My mom, was in her at that point was in her early mid 70s. So yeah, it made it when you didn't have all the information, and all the information you had was so polluted and weird, and everyone's in reaction mode. Then people made calls because they had to make best calls, and you can look back on that and go shame on us, but at the same time, it's like, well, what did you have to work with? Little to nothing. Okay, right. I don't think that's a shame on anybody.
Early on in 2020, Amy and I were like, we went to the store. We had masks and gloves on, and we went to the store. Same. We had our mail delivered to us, and we would wait for a week before we'd bring it into the house. We'd bring all the groceries in, and I'd wash the groceries down and everything. Like, and Amy was pregnant too. Like, we found out that she was pregnant in February, and all of COVID stuff started in March. So there was a stretch of time there that was extremely high stress, having a pregnant wife and all of that. So I definitely, for people who made decisions particularly around family members who are immunocompromised or whatever, like I don't hold it against them.
Flaws in meritocracy. Maybe there's flaws in relying on prestige. And so when we look at what we call democracy today, what I see it as essentially as a sort of guided democracy, the way we talk about Putin's democracy. Putin's democracy is democracy guided by monarchy. Our democracy is democracy guided in the formula that Walter Lippmann came up with about 100 years ago, is democracy guided by prestige, guided by civil society. And I'd like us to address that squarely.
Sure. Professor Allen, just also given time, perhaps if we could focus particularly on what you described as the engineering problems of democracy, which Mr. Yarvin seemed to kind of bring out in the second half of that answer.
I know we were also drifting into our second topic there too, which we're probably getting close to in time.
Yeah.
So I'll just make a very brief comment about Aristotle, because I cannot let it go by having a hash made of Aristotle. That is something I cannot abide, because I am very fond of Aristotle. So it's really important. Those 6...
Who gives a shit what you're fond of? Who cares? You're asked a direct prompt. by the moderator. Can you answer the fucking direct prompt? You worthless sack of garbage. You fucking orange garbage sausage. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Garbage
Let me launch it. Let me launch into my defense of Aristotle. The fuck are you talking about?
She cannot stand for someone to make a hash of Aristotle. Meanwhile, Aristotle would have thought she was a defective human being. And that's before he listened to her talk.
And, I mean, whatever. Again, okay, so
Again,
just dodging the whole thing. Again, just dodging the whole damn thing, right? Oh, well, can you respond directly to what Mr. Yarvin here is talking about? I will in a second, but hang on a second. Let me launch into a full-throated defense of Aristotle, because you know, he's the one on trial now.
Forms matter a lot in Aristotle: monarchy, oligarchy, and democracy. The division between the good and bad is the difference between rule for the sake of the people who are ruled versus for the sake of the ruler. And the thing that Aristotle thinks will achieve rule for the sake of the ruler, or rather the ruled, the people who are being ruled, and get them good government, is law, limits, and accountability. All right? So that distinction in Aristotle is...
That doesn't address anything that Yarvin talked about. You're talking about the mechanisms of the categories, and Yarvin was talking about the categories themselves. Yarvin's not against law and order. If anything, he's for maximum order and law. What? Why? I'm glad this is being televised. I'm glad this has gotten this many views and this is being discussed. Because I don't know how, I mean, I know how she has a career after this, but she shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think anyone who has a half a brain cell functioning looks at this and goes, this is running Harvard. We're sending our kids to this. Is it as bad at Yale? What other schools are there? Because this is bad. This is bad.
Absolutely critical. The difference is really between tyranny and monarchy, which is a good form because limited, because bound. And monarchies can be limited and bound. Take British constitutional monarchy, take how it developed in the 18th and 19th century. It has produced a form of good rule and good governance for people. Democracy is not the only form that can do that, but limit, rule, those things are necessary, and rule of law.
Wait, so she just conceded the point. The democracy isn't the only thing that can produce these good results.
Yes.
So therefore, so she just conceded.
Yes, she literally just conceded the debate right there. Because that was the premise of the prompt or the resolution was that democracy, it was like what's better for human flourishing. It was like our democratic institutions or centralized executive power or something like that.
Institution, yeah.
Yeah. So now she said, what was the last thing she said? It sounded like she just started beatboxing or something.
Slam poetry without the poetry.
Tyranny and monarchy, which is a good form because limited, because bound. And monarchies can be limited and bound. Take British constitutional monarchy, take how it developed in the 18th and 19th century. It has produced a form of good rule and good governance for people. Democracy is not the only form that can do that, but limit.
Boom, right there. Boom, right there.
And what does she say? What does she say next here?
Take British constitutional monarchy, take how it developed in the 18th and 19th century. It has produced a form of good rule and good governance for people. Democracy is not the only form that can do that, but limit, rule, those things are necessary, and rule of law.
Limit, rule, those things are necessary, and rule of law.
That's just
Did she have a stroke?
Just a garbled nothing.
Limit, rule, and rule of law.
I wonder if whatever part of her rational thinking brain actually had a schism, right? When she part of it realized like she just conceded the debate, and her brain was like, "Oh, rule of law and order, constraint. That's what you need." Let me return to fucking derp face. I'm hoping that Yarvin seizes on this
Yeah.
because I fucking would.
Got it. All right. I think, given where you were going, we can get a little bit into our second topic, which deals directly.
Wait.
with Harvard.
Whoa. She never addressed the prompt.
Yeah, she didn't.
What bullshit is this? She was asked a direct prompt by the moderator, went on verbal salad, conceded the debate, spit out some other words of power, and now is just shuffling on. What the shit is this?
Slutty Milk says Yarvin is the tank in Harvard Yard.
Should rename him Sherman.
Yeah, tank versus tanky over here.
But it could be interpreted broadly, as Mr. Yarvin was saying, as prestige institutions or civil society. The main question here resolved: Harvard's model of elite formation, grounded in a contested balance between merit and equality, undermines the democratic legitimacy of the political and cultural systems its graduates go on to shape. Now, given how the coin toss went, Mr. Yarvin, you're allowed to speak first.
All right. Well, there's a lot to unpack there, as we say. You know, one of the things I was curious, to sort of see answered in Professor Allen's book, and maybe I didn't see it, but I was sort of curious as to whether, Professor Allen's ideal of democracy supports a Harvard admissions department that judges applicants by the color of their skin rather than the content of their character. And I think that that's a critically important question for these institutions, because of course when we see Harvard taking the role of elite formation, we're essentially looking at the naked reality of an essentially oligarchic institution. Obviously, Harvard, founded in 1636, is considerably older than the United States of America, and I don't think anyone has ever suggested holding Harvard accountable to voters in any sense. In fact, I think most people at Harvard would be repulsed at the idea of letting elected politicians, soiled by filthy democracy, choose Harvard's admissions department. And I think that that's sort of a reflection on the way that this term democracy has drifted so far from its literal meaning. And of course, Professor Allen is I'm sure aware that for most of the history of the term democracy, it was considered a negative term. The founders used the term democracy to mean what we now call ochlocracy, essentially, the bad form, ruled by mobs for the mob's own interest, as you might say. And when I look at the way that our system works today, whether it's by the permanent administrative state, which is, like Anthony Fauci, and there are many Faucis out there, is absolutely shielded from democratic accountability. Moreover, attempts to return that to the accountability of the voters under the, complicated and not entirely successful regime of the elected president, Donald Trump, have been met with really great resistance. And so when I look at this system, I'm basically like, we find the word democracy being used to actually mean oligarchy. And that strikes me as very, very Orwellian. And I would like to know what is not Orwellian about that.
Professor Allen?
Well, there is a lot.
Okay, so the question is, what is not Orwellian about using the term democracy, but really referring to institutions and systems and processes that are ultimately fundamentally oligarchic? So I'm very curious to see if she actually answers this question, or if she does the same thing she's done before, which is just kind of like diarrhea vomit everywhere. So he basically, Jason, just to catch you up, he basically asked her that he said he's noticed all these different things that Harvard is oligarchic, and all these different institutions are all very oligarchic. And so he's basically, he's pressed her, he's given her the question, what is not oligarchic about this nature of Harvard, where they esteem these things about democracy, but ultimately when they say democracy, they're meaning oligarchy. And so she's right at the beginning of her answer, and my prediction is she's not going to answer the question.
Oh, not at all. And he's got hereditary rule through New York Times in his back pocket.
Oh,
right?
yeah, the Salzburgers.
To unpack there, as Mr. Yarvin said. So maybe just let's get some facts laid out first, and then we can come to the question of what we should all be hoping for from our great universities.
No, he didn't ask you what we should be hoping for from our great universities. He asked you what is not oligarchic or what is not Orwellian about the fact that all of the things that you refer to as democratic are all oligarchic.
So Massachusetts is in fact the
Maybe she can tell us what Aristotle would think about it.
Magoo said this is called Jigababble. The N-word! I don't have the soundboard, so I have to do them manually.
Yeah, I think that's what these people don't realize. Is like we can shift to another word. Oh, the N word is no good. What about the J word? We can switch to a lot of different words. There's tons of good words. How about the spear word? There's a whole bunch of ones.
We are students of history.
Actual founder of Harvard College and has the final authority for Harvard College. And the state legislature directly did take responsibility for Harvard through the middle of the 19th century. So in that regard, one can't say that it has never been the case, that there has been very direct and clear civic connection for Harvard. And to this day, without any question, the university carries a very strong sense of responsibility.
Yeah, great.
For its
Yeah.
community.
Harvard's awesome, wonderful. Yeah, okay. How is it not an oligarchy, though?
Does it always act successfully in relationship to that responsibility? No, it does not. And there is plenty of work for reform internally in our universities. So that's the first thing to say.
Glad to hear that there is somehow, no matter how many times your people advocate for the same sort of thing, and the thing that you're advocating for never actually comes about, yet we still discover that there is demand for your particular job description. Isn't that fantastic and convenient?
Second thing to say is about the relationship between universities and democracy more generally. What should be our goals? What is the history of that? How can we get it right?
Who would write the books about defending democracy if it were not for her, Matthew? Come on, you got to think 5-6 steps ahead. Come on.
In the present day. The Harvard College was set up in the wake of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, also actually having across its schools established public education, whose main purpose was civics.
Holy shit, are we having the history of fucking Harvard right now? Is this the fucking response? Your prediction came true, Matthew. She's in fact not answering the question. We're now getting the history of Harvard. Good. Was it? What's the rock that is built on? Is it limestone? Is it bedrock? What's the terroir like at Harvard? I just question it, just out of curiosity. What's the weather like these days?
Civic education and the development of civic strength. The purpose was to make sure that young people understood the laws. Why? Again, to protect freedom so that nobody would be subject to arbitrary treatment because they wouldn't understand the laws. So from the very beginning, the project of education in Massachusetts Bay Colony and the state of Massachusetts ultimately was, again, the project of freedom.
Okay, wait. Let's just get to this law thing, right? Because, it's understood. You're using this word as if it's like it's just good, right? Law equal good. Well, but law disenfranchises people who want to break the law. If you're really into murder, if murder is just the bestest thing in the world for you, and there's laws against murder, oh, too bad for you, sunshine. So it's dominating a certain class of people. Now, we might designate the class of people as dominating as the bad people, and that's fine, that's fair, that's good. But we can also just say that slavery was legal once, right? If we want to go to the slavery thing, she's brought it up, not me, at the start of her debate. Like there's any number of things where you can go, well, it was so when it was legal. Was it morally good? And then when it becomes illegal, is it morally bad? At what point does it become at what point does the morality shift? Before or after the law is written? Or the amendment or the whatever?
I'd be curious to know what the founders of Harvard would have thought about egalitarianism and democracy and having a black woman up on the stage wearing a garish orange jacket.
Well, you see, Matthew, they were sharing a common moral center that was different then, that we've now evolved into this new moral center. So it's like, they would if you transplanted them to the current time, they would just automatically adapt to this new moral center because humans. Don't you see? all slave owners had to do was be told that they were being bad, and then they just stopped being bad.
Oh,
more or less.
Of course.
Yeah.
Those are those are some of those more equal humans.
It's magic. It's the magic thinking. Magic works.
Structure of the law, and with education institutions having the job precisely of cultivating the kind of civic strength, both of knowledge and relationship, that could support a healthy, self-governing society. Now, this idea was not just an idea of the colonies, it was also...
Imagine being brought up on charges and having this woman represent you. Be like, I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail.
I'm a white guy. I'm ready to kill.
Wife and family goodbye. I'm going to jail.
It's an idea that George Washington was, again, one of the first people to pick up. George Washington wanted to found a national university, and in his aspiration for that university, it would have people from every single state there. That is to say, he sought geographic distribution because his belief was the education that would yield civic strength for a healthy republic, a healthy constitutional democracy, would in fact weave together peoples from across the country. I go through all of this to make the point that the resolution as crafted has a false premise in it. It has in it the premise that egalitarianism and excellence are in tension with each other. They can be, they don't have to be. Excellence and talent are everywhere, and it should be the job of great universities to find that talent.
She said there was a point.
Excellence and egalitarianism don't have to be in tension with each other. What the fuck does excellence mean that is not in tension with egalitarianism?
Well, I guess if everyone's excellent, then...
If everyone's excellent, no one is.
Right. But unless you just call them excellent.
The existence of the notion of excellence is an ipso facto rebuttal of egalitarianism.
But we can just call them excellent, Matt. You can just say shit. You can just say things. You can just define it as you...
New rule. If you are white, you can just say things.
Right.
$5 super chat from Rothgar, I believe. I'm gonna stick with that pronunciation. $5 says, should have asked her the important question. How would she feel if she hadn't eaten breakfast?
I'll do a further amendment to Matthew's statement. You can just say things if you're white and own a gun. Then you can just say things,
right?
Because also if you have those two characteristics, you can just do things too.
Yeah,
like just things can just happen if you really want them to happen. Things can happen,
Talent wherever it might be. If you didn't find a defensive affirmative action in my book, it's because I have not defended affirmative action. Not now, not over the past 10 years. What I have defended is the idea that universities should have a merit threshold, and above that threshold have a lottery by geographic or socioeconomic categories. So yes,
Wait, what the fuck did you just say? You need a merit system. You need a merit system, and above that, a lottery. So a merit lottery? You win your merit bingo card, like,
so we need like a
front?
threshold of excellence, and then above that we need randomness.
Right, random excellence, just in case, because maybe you find a diamond in the rough. Isn't that what the Rhodes Scholars thing is all about, anyways? Isn't that supposed to like cover those bases?
Well, and having a merit threshold is not very egalitarian.
No, at all.
But it's like if we retroactively shoehorn the lottery into it that randomizes everything, well, then we've just kind of reintroduced egalitarianism or something, because once we create this arbitrary cutoff, above that, everyone's equally has an equal opportunity. So there we go. We checked off our egalitarianism box.
Also, wouldn't a lottery just always favor the majority? So if you have a racial majority in your country,
Right.
even by a slim percentage,
Or a sexual majority,
right?
Or cognitive majority, cognitive capacity majority, or
yeah. If so, your mean average, your average intelligence being 100, well, it would automatically a lottery would automatically select for the average 9 times out of 10.
Frankly, it's not her fault that she is who she is, where she is.
I'm starting to think it's her fault. Actually, I'm
No,
sliding to actually blaming her now.
Society is at fault. We are going to use collective blame here. She was not told no enough. We need to make saying no to people cool again. She needs to be told, no, Home Depot is good enough for you. The world needs ditch diggers too.
And you got to say it like an Aussie when you do it. Now.
Nar.
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 I mean, emptying porta potties is noble work. It has to be done.
You can
imagine going to porta potties that never got emptied. Do you imagine how miserable that world would be? She could do great things for the world by emptying our porta potties for us.
It's all equality. It's all egalitarianism at the end of the day. Like if we just egalitarianize work, then
we're all equally human.
Right. I mean, look,
we all equally produce human shit, and she is just equally shoveling that shit.
Yeah. It's really the backbone of every society. Every civilization is down to manure.
There are lots of different ways to approach the question of how precisely we do admissions, but what is above all important is that
I was promised a
as
point.
we think about the role of universities in our collective life in this country, the job is, yes, to provide research and knowledge and innovation that support national security, that support economic competitiveness and health, but also that just gives us, I'd say, a two-legged bench when we should have a three-legged stool.
That is also not a point.
We also need our universities to cultivate civic strength. That does require our ability to weave relationships.
Why are you into woodworking now? What the fuck are you talking about?
To weave relationships on our campuses among all
woodwork and basket weaving. So we're down to home ec. Great.
Members of our democratic
Want to throw cooking in there too, you bint?
Community.
Well, I heard her say two-legged bitch, and I sure see one.
Across all kinds of backgrounds, including differences of viewpoint and perspective. So there's a heck of a lot to say, but without any question, the ability to protect the life of the mind is also central to protecting freedom. That's the work that we have to focus on.
I hear a lot of abstractions there. They're very beautiful abstractions, but in order to make some of the history.
Big, beautiful abstractions.
That's Yarvin saying everything we just said much more eloquently because he's on the stage of Harvard and we're not.
Right. Yarvin just told her she's full of shit. And she knows Yarvin just told her she's full of shit.
She's full of shit.
Concrete, let me tell a brief history story here. Does anyone in the room recognize the name Robert Califf? Wow. Back room, we got one way in the back with the beanie. All right, what about the name Increase Mather? What about the name Cotton Mather? There we go. Cotton Mather has and as a failed child prodigy myself, I have enormous respect for this. Cotton Mather, besides being the son of Increase Mather, Harvard president, was actually the youngest person ever to matriculate at Harvard, and he entered Harvard at the age of 11. He was generally recognized as a genius. He was also the son of the president of Harvard. They respected, heredity in those days as well.
And look how fucking far we've fallen.
Cotton Mather expected to become the president of Harvard, but he never did. And here is why, which is that, are you familiar with the Salem witch trials? So it turns out that the Salem witch trials were, an epiphenomenon of Puritanism. We've all heard the phrase, till the stock of the Puritans fail, was an epiphenomenon of the radical Puritanism that erupted in Massachusetts after the end of the Dominion of New England, the overthrow of James II, and of Governor Andros. And many, phenomena that were, very strange and bizarre, such as the belief in witchcraft, the idea of what was called spectral evidence, really flourished in New England at this time. Of course, Harvard was quite an old institution at that time. And the way in which the witch craze ended was really remarkable. It was due to this one man, Robert Califf, who was a merchant. He was not an academic. He was basically a citizen of Boston, and he was like, this is crazy. And he wrote a book called More Wonders of the Invisible World, which is a commentary on Mather's book, Wonders of the Invisible World, which is all about the action of demons. He could not get this book published in Massachusetts. He had it published in England, and it was brought back to Massachusetts, and there, I think in the year, sometime in the 1690s, I forget the exact date, that book was burned in Harvard Yard by Cotton Mather. And yet, basically, Harvard's ideal of veritas, truth, seems to be much more important than all of the other ideals Professor Allen has regarded put together. And I think the lesson of Robert Califf, who brought about the end of the witch craze single-handedly by standing up and speaking the truth and being unpopular, being canceled, as you might say, was that he was like, you know what? Actually, I believe in Harvard's ideals more strongly than Harvard does at the moment. And I will basically come to Harvard, I will come to the people of Massachusetts, and I will try to restore these ideals. And the witch craze ended. Cotton Mather attempted to sort of spin it. He was like, oh, I was really a moderate witch hunter. I didn't believe in spectral evidence in all cases. But his reputation was permanently tarnished as a result of the witch trials, and he never became president of Harvard. And so, I find that very inspiring in a way, because I see that these fundamentally aristocratic and completely
This is Yarvin going, see, bitch, you want a story hour? Let's do story hour. I can do story hour too. But here's the great thing. My story hour is actually backed up by facts and is pertinent to the conversation. Crazy, I know. Oh, look at that.
Isn't it wild that she is the lifelong Harvard insider, just born and raised in that world her entire life, and he is the outsider? I mean, think what you want about Yarvin. There's no denying that the dude has a mind like a steel trap, and he has voraciously read and educated himself extensively across history, philosophy, mathematics, computer science. The dude's legitimately top tier IQ and well read to go with it.
Well, not only that, because maybe we can compare the two in terms of memorization and whatever have you. Memorization and application of verbal intelligence, sure, right? Maybe on some level they're both equal. Here's the thing that Yarvin excels at, because of his computer programming background, he can apply things.
Yeah,
he can actually apply information and knowledge directly into a field and produce results. She can't. Her result is a book,
right?
Of just she could just talk into a mic and or have a ghostwriter. I'd be surprised if she actually even wrote the damn thing, right? It's where can you imagine her, Shiboon trying to hold the pencil with her fucking foot,
the crayon.
How do you type with these things? Anyways, but yeah, Yarv can actually apply his intelligence into things that produce things. You can have all your feelings about what he produces, but yet it still produces things. Therefore, better, right? Better than her.
Mm-hmm.
It always will be.
He never became president of Harvard. And so, I find that very inspiring in a way, because I see that these fundamentally aristocratic and completely non-democratic institutions are actually capable of that level of self-renewal. And that's what I hope for. That's what I hope to see when I come to Harvard or another university of similar reputation, is that I hope to see that genius for self-renewal there. And I think that that genius has to sort of contend against the corruption of the immense power that Harvard has and its immense ability to set public policy. And I think that power has corrupted the mission of truth.
Professor Allen.
Well, I think you'd find much agreement that the spirit of renewal is to be welcomed on our campus and on other campuses. I think that's not a controversial point. And the question really is what the work is to be done. It seems to me that America's universities do need.
Well, why is that the question? You're saying that work has to be done. So, okay, you've identified that Harvard isn't living up to whatever standard you're applying to Harvard now. Okay, some right, sure, whizzle wazzle. So you acknowledge that Harvard is not living up to this standard, and work needs to be done. Yet you can't identify the actual problems, systemic problems in Harvard.
Well, because she needs to be hired to do that work. So it's good that the work
Right.
needs to be done, because that means there's demand for her for her job description. But her job description now must be figuring out what the work is that needs to be done and doing that work. And doing the work is figuring out what the work is. And the more you figure out what the work is, the more you have to do the work. And then when you do the work, then you go and you do podcast interviews and you write books and you go to public speeches and marches, and you do the work so you can figure out what the work is that needs to be done, so that you can
Right.
continue the process of doing the work.
This
grant
goes back to like,
letters.
how do you fix democracy? We'll just apply more democracy.
Right.
More democracy to the problems of democracy will fix democracy.
How do you fix democracy? Hire me. That's
Right.
basically it.
Just apply more good to the bad, and then the bad will become the good. This is a callback to Yarvin's idea that, like, you don't purify sewage by dropping a bit of well water into it. That's not how it works, right? But the inverse is true. You can pollute an entire well by dipping a little bit of sewage into it.
Mm-hmm.
Need a new social contract with the people of America. And there are a few elements to that. For starters, it is.
Okay, wait, back up. A new social contract, you say? Okay, who's signing this contract? Who's deciding on this contract? Where's the negotiations? The trustees? Are the trustees at Harvard going to sign this new contract with the rest of America and the world, by the way, because these ideas do percolate out to the world? International people send their international kids to this hellhole of a hellscape of where ideas just go to die. But okay, who's doing these negotiations on behalf of us, the rest of the world? Us poor, bedraggled, morally inferior human beings.
Oy vey! Negotiations? Contracts?
I want to tell you how funny this is because you're still frozen on my screen. So you're frozen doing this, right? This is you on my screen, and all I hear out of from the ether is
Oy vey! Bagel! The locks with the schmear!
Wow.
It's important that as a part of working on that renewal, we also all recognize the importance of defending academic freedom, freedom of inquiry, and the private rights, constitutional rights of civil society institutions. I will use that phrase, civil society.
will you? Really?
Universities being
fantastic.
anchor
Right. Yeah,
to
right,
the
good.
fabric of civil society, and civil society being, in
she's
fact,
gonna
a
use it a
space
lot.
for freedom.
This is like,
Oh.
I feel like I'm listening to some neckbeard describe the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is like Marvel Cinematic Universe fan fiction.
because the neckbeard described the Marvel universe, there would be a point to it. Like he'd be emphatically trying to tell you why this is important. Like there's and he'd be like really, really into it. And this actually matters. She's just look at her face. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use the word civil society. I mean, here's civil society and civil society and civil society. We live in a civil society. Don't you know? We live in a civil society, and GDP go up, and that's really good. And feminism donates to GDP. So feminism good because GDP is good, and these things are good. And law and order are good only, but only when we're applying law and order to seize power for self-empowerment and self-governance, and to disenfranchise those who want to dominate those people who are morally good. What?
Kill it with fire.
Just look at the dispassionate look in her face. Look at the dead eyes. This is just rote.
Yep.
This is just what you this is a struggle session.
Vapid. Okay, let's finish this whatever she's going to say here, and then let's bounce.
And as we work on defending those things, then their question is, where also do we need to work on renewal? We have fallen short, I would say, because of the problem of technocracy. The problem of technocracy is the problem of expertise disconnected from real realities, what people are experiencing, and without the humility that goes with making recommendations for the world at large, the inability.
She's incapable of understanding that 99.9999999% of people on the face of this earth, both living and dead, don't experience the reality of Harvard. They have no idea what Harvard is. They will never visit Harvard, be inside of Harvard, have any kind of a Harvard experience whatsoever. So she's as detached from reality as an AI. It's all même chose, as we say in French.
To test them appropriately with full range.
The problem here is the experts. The experts. We have our esteemed schools of learning, but our problem here, the reason why our democracy isn't democracying hard enough, is because of the problems of technocracy. And the experts, those with expertise, who are detached from the real world, from the real sufferings, the lived experience of I don't know, fucking homeless junkies on the street or something.
Quick question: does Harvard have an engineering, a computer science wing?
And who the fuck qualifies as a technocrat more than the 53-year-old lifelong octoroon? She's not an octoroon, but like lifelong half-blood who like has existed in this world her entire life, whose entire world revolves around conceiving of technocratic word salads to apply to some sort of a bureaucratic formula of governance.
Yeah, because also, like, vocabulary is a technology. Language is a technology, right? It may be more analog. It may not be sophisticated like a computer or something like that, but well, actually much more sophisticated. Your brain creates language faster than any computer alive. This is something that no materials can contend with. That the human brain, if you want to bring it down to brain chemistry, okay, well, that brain chemistry moves faster than the speed of light. It breaks every law of physics continuously, repeatedly, all the fucking time. As you were watching this conversation, folks, your brain basically broke the Higgs boson fucking equation like a billion trillion times. Like, so yes, she's as technocratic as possible because she's using the technology of language to spread her whatever wicked bullshit, and sound like and sound erudite about it.
Magoo said Miss South Carolina blaming access to maps for not knowing if the war on terror was justified was more cogent than this banana wrangler. Banana wrangler. Throw that one on the euphemism spreadsheet.
What kills me is that people like her will give Andrew Wilson a tough time about that olive jar. But,
oh yeah.
But go along their life just talking nonsense, absolute fucking nonsense all the time. But like just that one, you didn't accomplish that, you big strong man. You're a nonsense factory. She's a nonsense factory. Like everything out of her mouth was this entire time was absolute and total nonsense.
She has she has a make work job. It's like the roles that her and her ilk are in. This is like it's like special needs people at a sanitarium who are given crayons and like paper to draw on, except this particular sanitarium, we pretend that it matters and that these people are important and prestigious, and so they're special needs patients who are scribbling on papers with their crayons. Except we pretend that they're actually really smart and special, and we revere them, and they're, Harvard is a prestigious name, so they're prestigious. But these are not excellent people.
You know what rubs my rhubarb about this too, is
Rubs your rhubarb.
is that she's never worried about paying rent.
Oh
ever.
yeah, never.
In her entire life, never missed a meal, never stressed out about where the money's going to come this month. Never had to make a decision between gas and groceries. Never, ever, and probably never will. We'll see how the economy goes, but likely is going to be somehow land on some sort of cushion. That's what rubs my rhubarb, because it's just like, and I'm not even jealous. I'm not jealous or envious of because I don't, whatever, right? But it's just like, so people who put in the hard work of actually thinking and using, God's given logic and reason have to struggle, and this thing gets to sit there and just spout absolute nonsense and get paid handsomely for it, or get rewarded for it.
You're spouting shite.
That's, if this is the result of democracy, then please let's burn democracy to the ground. Let's bury it, and let's bury it out back. Let's do all the nasty things to it. Use eventual sun energy. Let's direct it there, right? Let's tear this democracy thing down, whatever the fuck it is now. She was asked a direct question. She's never defined it. It's never gone around to that. It's just egalitarianism, equal power, something, non-domination. Okay. Even though the actual act of applying democracy is dominating the 49%. It's nonsense.
Stakeholders and perspectives. That is something that we do need to improve on without any question. We also certainly need to improve on our ability to provide opportunity and to establish clarity, that there is fairness in our procedures for admission. I've already alluded to my own approach, an approach I've been arguing for more than a decade. But with regard to
how's a lottery fair? How
Yeah.
is a rent? How is RNG fair? Hey, this bitch has never played a fucking video game in her life, because everyone who has knows that RNG is bullshit. Like, every you get hit by an RNG number, you're like, what is this bullshit? What the fuck did I get fit 5 times by this dumb fireball spell?
And you know what's even worse? You know what's even worse? Going merit-based plus a lottery.
Right.
Like, if you're going to have a lottery, at least have the lottery be with the entire population. So you might get a retard, you might get a genius, who knows? But you do merit-based, so you make everybody work, you filter off all the excellent people, and then it's just like, hey, it's going to be chance. You never know.
Yeah. We got 5 spots left. Let's roll the dice. Let's see.
Okay, here's a question for you. Who do you have in a debate? I'm going to describe a horror show to you. Your worst nightmare.
I'm a white guy, and I'm ready to kill.
Real quick, $3.50 from Hermetic Hegemony. He says, great stream. Civil society, once heard a nasally European scientist say, quote, of course the moon will be a place for civil society. My nostrils flare every time I remember. Please, Lord, spare us. Nasally European scientist, who's he referring to? That reference went over my head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he'll clarify here in a second. While waiting for that, okay, horror story. This is just worst nightmare shit right here. Mm-hmm. You are forced to sit and listen to a debate, and you have to choose at the end one or the other in order to get out, in order to be freed from this world of listening to this debate. The debaters are this woman and Brestany. Who do you have in a debate between her and Brestany?
They're the same people, though, right? It's like I guess Brestany, because she's got breasts. Like,
yeah. At least you can look at her.
There's some like white solidarity somewhere in there, like some racial identity. Like I gotta take one for the white team, right? But they're the same people. It's the same thing. It's just she's not as animated as Brestany. She's not as like she's probably a bit she's probably a little bit better at like some facts and figures than Brestany, but it's the same arguments. Like I bet you if you dragged her, she'd get to GDP good.
Would they? Yeah, would they have anything to debate over?
Oh, are they debating? Are they debating like they're
Each
like,
other.
they're oh, who would win? Is your question? Who would win?
Yeah, who's a better debater?
Oh, I'd give it to Brestany because of the tits.
I think I would too.
but and they're not even that good. I'm just saying, like they're there, right? There's something to look at.
Well, they're fake too, so
yeah. But I mean, I think so. Jim Bob said this on his stream, maybe the same one where he called her garbage sausage, but apparently she was talking to Jay before that fucking meltdown debate, either before or after, and she was like saying like, yeah, this is all an act, right? Like she's like, I'm just rebranding. Like she understands. Like she's basically saying to him like, yeah, I know this is all just like we're just gonna have some fun and we're gonna shoot insults, but we don't really mean it. Da, 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 da. So she's at least I think Brestany's aware of the grift. Like she's very very aware that she's essentially full of shit, and she just does this to get the numbers. This woman, I agree. It's not even just stupidity. I think she's so baked in it. She couldn't like you could give her rock solid proof. Download the information into her Shiboon brain that she's wrong, and she'd still reject it. It would fry the machine out because it's nope. Just be caught in a feedback loop. There's nothing else there. Like she's so I think so soaked in it that she's just
I'm a white guy and I'm ready to kill
of the grift. I think she just honestly thinks that she just deserves these things. Like she's given these things and she's like, oh yeah, well, I memorized ancient Greek, of course. Like that's that's what happens, right? Like I don't think it's a grift for her. It's just my takeaway. So who is a better debater? I'd give it to Brestany, Chestney, whatever. Only because I think she's aware of the grift. And there's like, I kind of appreciate honest, dishonest people.
yeah, yeah, I can appreciate the like if you're doing it as a bit and you're like self-aware about it and you're like, yeah, I'm doing a thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can appreciate that you're doing a thing and I'm not going to get wound up about it.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I can still think you're an awful, garbage sausage waste of a human being. Sure. But I mean, in terms of the actual like debate thing, sure, give it to her.
Right.
And again, white solidarity, whatever. Okay, do you want to do any more of this, or we? I think
no. Let's get out of here. I got a couple things to read. First of all, $10 tip from Magoo. Thank you, man. He says, "Thanks for the stream. Your rant about hope at the end of last night's stream was brilliant. Cheers." Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's that one's. I've been thinking about that one for a little while. And we got some comments here from Damn It Jeremy in the chat. A good friend of the show who. Those of you who've been following the Astrolabe, I shouted him out. He was in a car accident and is going to have spinal surgery. He's got to GoFundMe. If you go to the King Pilled Substack and look at what's today is Thursday. So I think it was from Friday's show, or sorry, Wednesday's show yesterday. There should be a link to the GoFundMe for our good friend, Damn It Jeremy. He says, I want to thank everybody for the prayers and support. I'm in physical therapy. Our major bills are paid and everything will be okay. That's very good to hear. They're going to need some support for a little while. He's got a lot of healing to do. He says, I found it funny that my wife's first words to me when I came out of the coma were, man, all your most racist friends are your best friends. Well, that is what we're known for. We're known for being racist and loyal.
I'm bringing back. I'm with Thomas 77 on this. Bigot is a better term. I like to bring back the term chauvinist. I think it's more classy and more apropos because it's also a term that the others aren't using. So I think we should bring back chauvinist.
I saw the Jim Bob in
sport.
his debate with that rational egoist guy. He said his like title or whatever was based bigot.
Bigotry is it's been given a bad rap, but I mean I think everyone says like, oh, we're all really racist. I'm like, no, we're all bigoted. It's not that because racist kind of has a connotation that you want to do harm to someone else. It's like I don't want to do harm to anyone. I don't want to harm any East Indians. I just don't want them around me.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah. Damn it, Jamie says Jason makes me want a cigarette like a motherfucker. Well, you know what? I want a cigarette like a motherfucker, and that is why we are going to wrap up this 5th installment of Network Armageddon Electric Boogaloo. Jason.
Network Armageddon Electric Boogaloo, a Network Armageddon Electric Boogaloo, a Network Armageddon Electric Boogaloo, a Network Armageddon Electric Boogaloo. What is that? It's a fun word.
I'm a white guy, and I'm ready to kill.
Oh, another tip here from Hermetic Gemini, $3. He says, forgot the scientist's name. He worked in some Harvard team. Any original thoughts these people have don't come from Harvard. They have to apologize for any greatness by citing the religion. Boone doesn't have anything to apologize for. Yes. Absolutely.
It's our mercy. It's our grace, isn't it?
Right. All right, Jason, give him your plugs.
Hi, I'm Jason Mironchuck, host and creator of the Mironchuck Now over on YouTube, Spotify, X, all the podcatchers, over on Substack as well. Appreciate you, my friend, for having me on again. Or I'm having you on. We're having both of us on. We're both having ons. Of course, please use the links to help support the show. Donate to me directly on PayPal and Streamlabs and all the other things. Or go over to the channel on YouTube and subscribe. If you haven't already, I know we have a great big overlap of people, but in case there's some people who haven't gone over, go over there and click subscribe and like and all the rest of the stuff. We coming out of the dark ages of the last few months of technology and YouTube being YouTube and all the rest of it. So hopefully, sky's the limit as we go forward into these very interesting times that I'm detailing, from everything from Tales of Shadow Empire. Of course, you can go over to Gumroad and get a copy of that. Find out what the financial why the financial markets are doing what they're doing and what they're going to be doing next. We're working on volume 2 pretty soon, which will be getting much more into the intersection of politics and the occult, which is something I'm really looking forward to. So go listen to our latest talk with Matt Ehret and Jim Joshras. That's a really good talk, and we'll be working with more. We'll be talking more with Matt going forward. So yeah, there you go. There's the spiel. Go support the show. Love you all. Mad respect. This is fun. I need to go take a nap.
You're right.
All right.
Well, make sure you go join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. Follow me on Twitter @realkingpill. Go to kingpill.substack.com, and you can get well, in this case, there's not any links for the show today, but I do the Astrolabe Monday to Friday, and that's the place to get the shows. So if you're listening to this afterwards on YouTube, then do us a favor and hit the like button and leave a comment. You can tell us you hate us. You can tell us we stink. You can tell us we suck. You can do whatever you want. Engagement is engagement, and we are engagement sluts here. So please do be our Johns and pay us an engagement. And
were you not entertained? Was this not entertaining? Was like
right?
Did we not
exactly.
did we not give you all the racisms? I felt we give you some high quality racism in this stream. Like this was top tier. At least in the top 10. I mean, what else would you want?
Mm-hmm. And go download the EWBSX app in the Google and Apple app stores if you want some quality 24/7 curated white boy summer bangers. EWBSX. Check out the website, ewbsx.app, and make sure you check out the crystals tab on the app and on the website. We have a fundraiser. We're going to turn this fun little internet radio station into a empire, a cultural force, and we need your guys' help. So please do go to givesendgo.com/EWBSX and send some crystals over to the cyberbully so we can keep the airship in the air, keep the cyclonic synchrometer humming. And we will be back next week with another episode of Network Armageddon Electric Boogaloo, and I will be back tomorrow with another episode of the Astrolabe. And for now, we shall bid you adieu. Jason, finish us off with your saying.
Hi, I'm Jason Mironchuck.